Flights disrupted at Murtala Mohammed Airport, Lagos Terminal, as aviation workers protest the sack of some of their colleagues.
Also on the breakfast, the Nigerian Employers Consultative Association supports fuel subsidy removal as planned by the federal government.
We have discussions on all these ahead, and also don't forget we'll be going through today's national dailies, analyzing the biggest stories of the day. Very good morning to you. We're back with the Breakfast and Plus TV Africa. It's a beautiful, beautiful Wednesday morning, reaching you live from our studios right here on Victoria Island, Lagos. And it's a pleasure to be back. My name is Kofi Bartels.
And I am Messi Ibopo. It's good to be back on your screen.
All right, as usual, we'll start off our discussions this morning with a look at the trending stories. And don't forget, we have, like we said, earlier advertised discussions on fuel subsidy as well as the aviation strike. But let's start off with the trending stories. Mercy, this is a really sad one, but I think I would have loved us to start with the one that's how it is. You hear a story, you have to really dig deep to be sure of what was happening. And it turned out that there was no Mikano building on fire. In fact, one paper also said it was Providence Bank headquarters. It turned out it wasn't no Providence Bank headquarters that was on fire. It wasn't actually a Mikano building that was on fire as well. In fact, some people started insinuating things. It was a Providence Bank branch that was under construction at Adeola Odeku Street, Victoria Island, Lagos. We're hearing so far that one person is feared dead. Initial report said several people were feared dead. Another report said 4 people were feared dead. Now they've been able to put out the real situation, which is one person feared dead. He's said to be a yet to be identified middle-aged man. He was burned to death. Very sad one in that fire incident. And for some persons who are still saying it's the Providence Bank headquarters, it is not the Providence Bank headquarters. From the Providence Bank website, their headquarters is on Adetokunbo Ademola Street, which is just near the Eco Hotel roundabout. This particular building is still under construction. In fact, the generating plant that they installed there is said to have been just newly installed, and they're working on it. They've not even commissioned it. One person dead, an unspecified number of people reportedly injured. The fire was said to have emanated from the premises of the bank while a repair work was being carried out on its generators. It's not a repair work. They were trying to make sure to fix it, I think, put it in place so that they could launch that branch. From the videos, eyewitness accounts and eyewitness videos, you can see that a vehicle belonging to the police, Lagos State Rapid Response Squad, was also on fire right there. It was an explosion. The police public relations officer, Benjamin Hundeyin, confirmed the incident. He said the fire started with the bank premises on Tuesday morning. A vehicle got burnt. Our officers were not affected, but they were injured. Some of them went to hospital, police officers. One person died, others were injured. The injured persons have been hospitalized. It really was unexpected. Some person on Twitter was claiming that it took at least 30 minutes for the fire service personnel to arrive there, and of course people jumped on the bandwagon to attack the fire service for not coming on time. But another person who claims to know someone who works in the bank, or with the bank rather, said that the person told her that if not for the fire service, it would have been worse. So I think we don't know too much about the situation. The information out there is not too clear, but it is a Providence Bank branch under construction. They were installing the plant as a generating plant, and there was an explosion there that led to this incident. It's really sad what has happened. Really sad. Mercy, over to you.
Oh, well, so we know that there's a lot of conspiracy theories or, speculations and put out. People are beginning to think otherwise, but we're waiting and very hopeful that there will be an investigation carried out as to what as the cause of the fire, what actually caused the fire. But every other time, one of the things that we should pay attention to is the issue of, education and sensitization every other time about fire, how to handle fire, and how to even avoid it. Because if we get to a point where we understand how to manage all of these issues, and then we'll not even get to a point where, there's an explosion and what have you. So yes, it's over to the relevant quarters. We want to know exactly what transpired with that, fire incident. Just not the same also, just yesterday, hours after that, there was also another fire incident, in other parts of Lagos. And like I rightly mentioned, we need to be in the know. There's need for orientation, information, and what have you. We need to understand what to do so we don't get to the point where there's an outbreak, right? With markets and all of that. I really don't know how the Ministry of Information, Orientation, and every other agency, including the fire service or firefighters, as some people would actually put it, but we need to get to a point where we're able to, put out enough information, educate the people on how to avert, all of this mishap, so we can be on the other side. But however, it's very saddening. It's unfortunate. It feels like yesterday a lot of things happened in the country.
Indeed, you're right. Talking about the Tejo Osho market fire, people had barely gotten to have a hang of what happened at Adeola Odeko yesterday, when another fire, erupted at that engulfed goods worth millions of naira, destroying those goods. Goods worth millions of naira destroyed. Tejo Osho market is fighting stations in this axis. There's one, I think like two off Awolowo Road. There's a State House. It's called State House Fire Service station on Ribadu Road off Awolowo Road. There's another one. I do not know if it's their office or it's a station, but it's near EFCC or something like that on Awolowo Road. There's another fire service station. You have Maroko Fire Service Station just nearby. You have one at Chevron. I'm sure you're familiar with that one. And there are a couple of others nearby. There's one at Onikon. Okay, two at Onikon. One is federal, one is state. So there are a number of fire service stations on the island, And if something like this happens in VI, it shouldn't take too long to have these guys there. What we do not know if it's the fire service people were able to act, to avert the damage that was recorded. If they could have acted faster, we don't know. But sometimes these things you can't do much than to work to stop it from spreading to the next building. I'm told there's a Globalcom office or building next door that could have also been damaged if this fire was not put out. So maybe we'll take the words of somebody who says she knows someone who works in Providence Bank who says that they actually helped salvage the situation. Sometimes look at the traffic, 30 minutes from wherever they came from may not have been too late. I don't know. Lagos State government recently launched about 65 firefighting vehicles. I do not know if they're still parked somewhere waiting to be distributed or they've already been distributed. But hopefully we'll have a quicker response next time. Let's move on.
Well, quickly, there's a tweet that a very popular Nigerian comedian tweeted. So that has gotten a lot of Nigerians talking about what he tweeted, the content of his tweets, talking about macaroni. And we know that Mr. Macaroni has been on the front burner for a lot of issues of, the NSAS or the forefront agitating and what have you. He's been very vocal, very popular with all of that. So he put out this particular tweet, and he talked about, the current reality of the nation where whatever it is that happens, you have the elites, because this has always been an issue. So the society would be divided, towards the haves or the haves not, and that's what exactly has always been from time immemorial. And in his tweet, which got people talking, drew people to the current reality of, the country, and Macaroni had said that, which also made it look like, a lot of Nigerians took to social media to kick off the campaign. So I'd like to read the tweet of Macaroni, the way he put it, and that has drawn the attention of the people to the realities of life between the Nigerian politicians and citizens. As the president, of course, President Muhammadu Buhari, flew out of the country for medical checkup. So in all of that, several highlights. He urged Nigerians to vote wisely. That was the peak of everything that he said. And the tweet read, or the tweet was written as this: no matter how hungry the people are, there's always food in Aso Rock. No matter how sick the people get, politicians jet out to London for treatment. No matter the level of insecurity the people face, the politicians are well protected, so vote wisely. And a lot of reaction, spin generated. Nigerians fumed as they started a campaign of vote wisely, on Twitter and all the social media platforms. There's this particular one that says, macaroni, increase the volume, let the educated one hear and tell the uneducated fellow. 2023 is not about religion or tribe. It's about Nigerians surviving. Vote wisely. And of course, they, put out their favorite or whoever they are supporting. We must get this right. This is also another, tweet from a certain tweet handle, Cynthia for me. The tweet is almost endless. I'm sure if you go on Twitter and use the hashtag vote wisely, you would see all of the reactions from Nigeria. That's what it is.
Mercy, nothing much to add here except to say, well, I mean, the young man is simply echoing what, or re-echoing what people have said, and it's stating the obvious, But it's good to have, people who have the followership online and who have popularity, advise the citizens ahead of the elections. He hasn't campaigned for anybody in per se or against anyone, but simply stating the obvious, stating the obvious. People are lining up on the streets to buy fuel. Yesterday I sent a domestic staff who provide security services to us at home to get us fuel for our generating set because there was no light and no power supply. And he couldn't get it because we're not dispensing fuel into jerry cans, I want to call it that. So people have religion as you. That's not what you should be looking at. You should look at who is saying the right things and who has the capacity to solve the problems the country is facing. So that is very important. I think the young man must be commended. I saw a video he put out some time ago. I think it was on the anniversary of EndSARS massacre at Lekki. He put out a video on his Twitter and social media, asking people who, had issues with healthcare and other things. It was a skit, a sketch, to vote for who can solve the problems. And I think he's immature about it to not mention any party. That's a very mature way, very intelligent man, to not mention any candidate, to not align himself with anybody, but just to stick with the issues. And I think that is a good way to go about it. I'm not saying those who are doing, coming out to say I support A, B, or C are wrong, but I think he's also handling it professionally. So that's good. I think he should continue, and he deserves to be commended. And others who are in such positions where they have popularity and should also, have some sort of social activism going on. I mean, he was arrested during the EndSARS protests and all that, put inside a Black Maria, like we call them here, a mobile prison, so kudos to Mr. Macaroni. But Mr. Macaroni, if I call you through your manager for an interview, pick my call and answer it. So your manager should stop telling me you're not available, please. Okay. All right. Let's quickly. I had to add that. Let's quickly look at some people said Amaechi is dead. Former Minister Amaechi is dead. People started panicking. Sometimes these papers should help, so that people don't spread fake news. Because it's not the immediate past transportation minister. This is a former aviation minister. Many years ago, he recently led a delegation of prominent Igbo leaders to President Buhari to request the release of Nnamdi Kanu, the team leader of the indigenous people of Biafra group. He's been talking a lot in the news, and to me it was a surprise that Chief Mbazulike Amaechi had died. Well, he's an old man. He's lived to a ripe old age, and his family announced his death. You know, he was the first Republic minister of aviation. A statement was issued Tuesday by his family, signed by his eldest son, Ezeana Amechi, on behalf of the family, saying the elder statesman died in the early hours of the day. He's been strong to the end, making statements. He's a strong man. Look at him. You know, going on calls at 93 years old, going to see the president at 93 years old, leading a delegation at 93 years old, and he'd been talking on national issues at that age. Strong man, and I think we will just convey our condolences to the family of a later Chief Mbazulike Amechi. Our thoughts go out to you. We also take solace and inspiration from the fact that Papa was a very strong man who, even in his 90s, still was able to speak on national issues and was agile enough to even go see the president and contribute to the development and the peace in his part of the country by being an elder statesman to call for the release of Nnamdi Kanu and also to prefer solutions, you know, that will lead to the peace in southeastern Nigeria. He lived a fulfilled life, like his family said, we agree, and he touched many lives to the service of humanity, God, and country. May his soul rest in peace.
Oh, wow. So, Mbazulike, like we have rightly talked about, I mean, some of the description of what we know him for, we're not really surprised because he's a nationalist, and I think that Nigeria has lost, you know, a legend, has lost, you know, an elder statesman, because prior to this time in the 1940s, we're talking about the colonial Nigeria. He was a part of the ZIX movement, talking about Nnamdi Azikiwe movement. It was a movement that was concerned about you know, the struggle, the emancipation of Africans or Nigerians from the hands of the British rule or colonial masters, and that's what he was. And so he was a member, surviving member up until the time he died. And it's really great to know that, you know, these young persons, if you look at the teachings and the doctrines at the time of, you know, Nnamdi Azikiwe, these young persons were, you know, out there that were willing to put out their best to ensure that, you know, Africa or Nigeria is liberated, and then they had issues of self-governance. Africa should be controlling the affairs. This were, you know, young men who were, and apart from being a nationalist, it was also unionist. There were several, you know, stands that stood him out, especially. I feel like that's been part of him. It's really, really commendable. It feels like a demigod. You know, people should probably would have worshipped and revered him when he was still alive, but of course, we remember this, and that's why it's very significant that as we live our lives, you know, from day to day, wherever it is that we find ourselves, that we are able to impact humanity. Do you also know that, you know, the ZIG movement at the time, the young people who came together, you know, came to some sort of agreement that they were not going to get married, so they took an oath that they were not going to get married until Nigeria gained her independence, and it's quite commendable. I really don't know, but of course, the likes of Macaroni Fowles and others also, you know, proving themselves to be that kind of person in our generation, in our current, you know, dispensation, the country.
I say, are you drawing some inspiration from that?
No, I'm just saying maybe, so to be very honest, it's really
do something similar to that to say.
But I'm already doing something. This is something that I'm doing. we don't have to. So the thing with doing something.
Celibacy. I don't know if it's celibacy or just.
No, I'm just saying that marriage, if you look at its history, so history is very important, right? Yeah. I'm just saying, you know, when people die, most times we're not in the culture where we get to celebrate people when they're alive, but we get to remember, you know, the lives of people and how they live their lives even when they are no longer. And so it would just be, I mean, thinking about what they did at the time, you know, the people who actually fought and who believed in a certain, you know, ideology, who thought that, you know, Nigeria needs to be emancipated or Africa needs to be controlling their affairs. It was really brilliant. These were young people who were in secondary schools, who were, you know, out there, they believed a certain course, they were moving without no influence. And the issue of saying, hey, we're coming together, we're taking an oath, and we're saying we're not getting married, you know, so it's personal, but it's very commendable.
Nigeria gains independence.
Yes, until Nigeria gains independence. And so
it was
a
noble cause.
Yeah, it was a noble cause. And as much as we know that there's been several faults as regards the issue of Nnamdi Azikiwe or Zik, however you want to call it. You know, people say, oh, those who were pushing for Nigeria to control their affairs, there were a lot of loopholes and what have you. But we must really say that it was commendable. Whatever it is, all that they have done, it was really, really remarkable. And he's one of them. And we celebrate him and we, wish him a peaceful rest.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's also, I'm happy you went there, a clarion call to, it's an example to the young people to take, borrow a leaf from the older generation, to take charge and to see how they can also step in to lead. These people started young. They started really, really young, and they're still doing it at the age of 93, 80s and all that. Where are the young people? You also need to step up and also be out there and put yourself in front, because time waits for nobody, and it's not the norm that the older ones will be doing it all the time. Actually, you have to start doing it when you're young. Chief Amaechi didn't do anything wrong by stepping out. I'm sure he was very useful to the nation, but we can learn from the fact that he started, like Mercy said, at a young age, even from school, to also encourage our young people to step out and also be at the forefront of national issues. Well, that's the size of our top trending segment. We will take a break. When we come back, we'll dive straight into the national dailies, looking at the biggest headlines with analysis to follow. Stay with us.
With a population of over 200 million, Nigeria is the most populous black country on earth.
We are diverse, strong, vibrant, and mostly young. We are yet to reach the land of our dreams.
We can write, tell, and be our own story.
From the economy, education, security to politics, you name it.
We can build the Nigeria of our dreams if we work together.
Join us on The Run-Up to discuss and proffer solutions to the issues confronting our polity every weekday. I am Bayo.
I am Uche.
And I am Nyamgul. We invite you to The Run-Up, 11 a.m. Monday to Friday on this channel.
How can we have peace without justice?
Plus Politics. It's not just another political conversation, it's about keeping you in the know. The relevant interviews, asking the tough questions to those that matter. Get the answers you need. Does it mean that the people who were injured, people who were shot at, those who were involved in that stampede are not going to get justice?
It is unfortunate, it is sad that we have a government of deaf and dumb.
Analysis from top experts.
The last election was not really an election.
We feel that Obasanjo has a very special place in his heart for hating Ijaw people.
I think it really boils down to two things. One, trust and accountability.
Plus Politics, every weeknight at 7 p.m. on Plus TV Africa.
Clarify and help you, the viewer, to better understand the issue before making up your mind.
Our goal is to reduce from 10 to 2 days the time it takes to register businesses in Nigeria.
Join me every week on this station, Plus TV Africa, and gain exclusive access to my conversations. I'm Angela Ajetumobi.
Nigeria's Niger Delta region, from where the black gold fuels Africa's largest economy, where the lines between wealth and poverty has never been thinner. Conflicts, poverty, insecurity, and environmental challenges daily confront the region. How can the Niger Delta story be changed for the better?
Join Mamode Akuga at 9 p.m. every Friday evening on Plus TV Africa as he probes deep in search of solutions.
Inside the Niger Delta with Mamode Akuga, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region.
Businesses in Africa can be very challenging. In Nigeria, it is particularly intimidating. and successful builders have learned how to navigate a hostile environment to unlock opportunities. But one major challenge businesses face is how to filter through the noise and identify where their ideal customers exist. Get insight and practical steps from industry players and captains of industries. Hear success stories to help you make informed decisions as you scale your business in Nigeria. Watch Business Insights at this time on Plus TV Africa.
Nigeria, by extension, Africa, is faced with a lot of challenges. The growing youth population with little engagement, that is a ticking time bomb. We are a blessed people with diverse culture and highly cerebral minds who have a lot to say. And yes, we are talking. It is important we drive the right conversation that informs, inspires, influences thoughts and action. If we say there's beauty in our diversity, then let us embrace our diverse culture. We must continue to courageously be the voice of transformation as we are the hope for the future. Yesterday's conversations shape today. What are you saying to shape your tomorrow? We know you have a lot to say, and we are here to hear you.
Hey, what's up, guys? You're welcome to another edition of Plus Event, and I remain your host, Ifeoluwa Oshukeye.
Your absence isn't an excuse anymore, as Plus Events is all you need, as we bring you the glitz, the glamour, and loads of fun.
Oh, definitely. By no question. He's a living legend.
Oh, God forbid, Holy Ghost fire, no.
I just want to be blown away. I want to be wild. This is 11 years of doing it.
I'm surrounded by so much positivity. No, it's okay.
Yo, what's up, my people? It's your boy Starboy Terry. You're watching
Plus Event on Plus TV.
Stay glued to Plus TV Africa every Saturday and Sunday, 4:30 p.m. West African time.
I had no desire to study law, none whatsoever. I was more inclined to fine arts. My only ambition, I would say, was to become the chief prosecutor. For me, politicians are a bit too playful. That's what I believe. And since '99, we've seen how much investment in social events, in launching some streets that you just started, and the whole day will be spent on this occasion. Rich people are generally law-abiding. We are not law-abiding. So another problem of administration is that people don't follow the rules.
Timeless Conversations, airing every Sunday at 8:30 p.m.
In raising our kids, parents should stop playing God.
The internet is actually using the people.
But when you are looking for money to help other people, then it becomes easy.
Don't rush into marriage. I always say this. You rush in, you rush out.
Family is the bedrock of every society and the essence of life.
On Today with John and Helen, we dig deep into family values in every sense of the word.
Join us every Saturday at 9:15 a.m. on Plus TV Africa, DSTV channel 408.
With you, we play a part in strengthening the values passed from generation to generation.
Join me every week on this channel as I take you through an exciting journey in the world of real estate.
Space and Style, 6:30 p.m. on Saturdays and 5:30 p.m. on Wednesdays.
It's not just the parents that have to do this. We put a lot of emphasis on government, we put a lot of emphasis on schools, but the service sector is completely left out of this conversation, and it's really important because they touch the families every day.
When we are making intervention, at the back of our mind, that plan that you're drawing up should also say on X amount of times or hours, you as the parents have to have X number of training.
Not just about the training, okay? So as we're collecting data in the center, you're collecting data at home. We give you the exact same plan.
From my own experience is that the children are usually the best advocates.
Absolutely.
Because the children have been informed and they have also experienced it, we find that they tend to go home and tell their parents the appropriate things to do.
Is it for upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria?
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Bookie November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on Plus TV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
In raising our kids, parents should stop playing God.
The internet is actually using the people.
But when you are looking for money to help other people, then it becomes easy.
Don't rush into marriage. I always say this. You rush in, you rush out.
Family is the bedrock of every society and the essence of life.
On Today with John and Helen, we dig deep into family values in every sense of the word.
Join us every Saturday at 9:15 a.m. on Plus TV Africa, DSTV channel 408.
With you, we play a part in strengthening the values passed from generation to generation.
We're back with the breakfast in Plus TV Africa. It's time for us to go through the papers this morning. We call it Off the Press. Jide Johnson joins us on Wednesday. Jide, it's good to have you join us this morning.
Well, it's a wonderful day, midweek, in any case, coming from the midweek edition.
Yes,
it's a pleasure to be with you.
Great one.
And coffee is nice. and good morning to our viewers all over the world.
Good morning. We should have you every day.
All right, then let's take a look at the Leadership newspaper this morning. I mean, I'd like to start off with the Leadership. It talks about the 2023 campaign. Atiku Tinubu Kwankwaso offers solution to ailing economy. That's how the Leadership captions it this morning. There are several riders. APC flag bearer targets 10% GDP growth. The question should be how? In U.S. to attract investment to Nigeria. Ex-vice president, and you remember there was a saga about him not being able to, get to the United States because there's some issues he had, diplomatic concerns. Well, maybe he was trying to prove a point there. Job creation plan will reposition the economy. Kwankwaso, that's the NNPP quoted to say. Naira depreciates further to 800 at Jide's thought. PMB Soludo, others known as Mbazulike, dies at 93, a nationalist and a legend that presidential candidate orders console and condole with Davido trauma over his sons or over their son's death. I mean, that has actually thrown Nigerians, into serious mourning. And just before we move away from the leadership, we'll just take this one quickly. Terror alerts devastating to economy. Federal government, EFCC probe $6 billion power projects. That's the much we can take at this point.
Let's go to The Nation with these headlines. I'll unbundle transmission to provide power, says Tinubu. I'll unbundle transmission to provide power. He's met the organized private sector in Lagos State yesterday to interact with them. Interesting one there. He made some statements about his economic and business agenda. Right as to that, restates commitment to double-digit GDP, promises consumer credit revolution, renewed anti-terror war. More from The Nation. First Republic Minister Amechi dies at 93. One killed, many injured in Lagos fire. IU can't lead PDP to victory, Wike insists. And Fasoranti, Afenifere has endorsed Tinubu. Right, that's for those who say, the man denied it. Well, there you have it. Passengers stranded as unions picket MMA2. Investors lose 2.8 trillion naira as sell-off worsens. Police probe Davido's domestic workers over son's death. US, UK terror warnings will hurt Nigeria's economy, says FG. Some stories on the front page of The Nation.
Well, let's quickly move away from The Nation newspaper and just quickly check out the next paper for us is The Punch. And on The Punch, you find EFCC plans massive raid on forex dealers. That's the dollar crisis. Naira's free fall worsens now 857 naira. So we thought we're talking about 800 naira. Abuja forex dealers flee into hiding. Kogi politician arrested with 326 million naira. BDC operators back commission. The writers you find underneath the bold caption on The Punch. Now, moving away from that, Davido autopsy likely as police free 6 workers and detain 2. The entire country has been thrown into mourning. And of course, our condolences with the family. Still looking at the front page of The Punch, commuters lament wants Lagos drivers back. Drugs, wanted Lagos hoteliers, 6 houses, 217 million naira seized. Kwankwaso to recruit 1.5 million soldiers and policemen. We're looking at the campaign of 2023. Why I am better than Atiku Obi on economy. And Tinubu, that's what Tinubu's going to say. I like to take this again. Why I'm better than Atiku Obi on economy. Former Lagos State Governor is quoted to say. I'm sure that that should, mean a lot. But Jide Johnson will be telling us more. That's it on The Punch this morning.
I will take a final paper, The Guardian, very quickly. 2023 rift widens in Southwest over Afenifere's endorsement style medical trip. Clark chides Buhari over failure to transmit power to vice president. That's a very important one. Airlines count losses, relocate operations as union shuts MMA2. Some of the stories on the front page of The Guardian. Ohaneze urges FG to honor Amechi's memory, release Kanu. Some of those stories on the front page. We won't take too much time there. Bring in Jide Johnson, Senior Lecturer at Nigerian Institute of Journalism at this point. Jide Johnson, let's start with Afenifere. They're taking the headlines again today. After denial, now the Fasoranti camp, if you want to call it that, is now coming out with a full chest to say they're endorsing the APC presidential candidate. What are your thoughts on this? This developing story and the lack of unity shown in the Southwest politics as far as Afenifere is concerned?
there's no difference in the pattern of the various endorsement the presidential candidate of the APC has received. We have the cases of the bishop that came to Abuja, and you also have controversy trailing its endorsement or non-endorsement.
Jide Johnson, can you please turn down the volume of your television set? We seem to be having a hall back. You know, can you please turn down the volume? Or turn off the volume?
Let's get to hear what he has to say about this. But, you know, it started with denial. In fact, I was discussing this at some point yesterday, no, day before yesterday, and someone said, oh, the man has denied it. He said he never endorsed anyone, that he only blessed, that if Atiku comes, Obi comes here. But, I mean, from what the papers are saying this morning, we can see that the thing is widening, though the writers on The Guardian give a little bit of a different twist to what other papers like The Nation are saying. For instance, what The Guardian sent a writer to that headline, 2023, rift widens in Southwest over Afenifere's endorsement style. It says, conscience of Yoruba Nation endorsed Tinubu, not Afenifere. I remain Afenifere leader. We're backing Tinubu. Fasoranti insists Southwest students ask Adebanjo to set aside grudges, adopt Tinubu. Tinubu woos press, so that's... Okay, we have a guest back now. Jide Johnson, welcome back. So you can continue with the point you were making.
As far as I'm concerned, you could see that there's a discordant tone with respect to his endorsement or not endorsement. We had the position of Chief Ayo Adebanjo. Now we're now hearing the position of Chief Ayo Fasoranti. Controversy has trailed the candidate of the APC with respect to his endorsement by bishop or no bishop or by different groups across the length and breadth of the country. Controversy has trailed his education and the rest of it. I think moving forward, the candidate needs to step away from controversy, and there is usually this misconception that the Southwest will vote in the same manner, or I, for example, will be influenced by the endorsement or non-endorsement of Afenifere group. As far as the election is concerned, Nigeria is a bit sophisticated than what it used to be in 1999 or what it used to be in the 1970s or in the 1960s. People are looking beyond the prism of the ethnic group or ethnic interest, particularly in the South, to vote for whoever they want to vote for. But I think that the candidate of the APC needs to move away from crisis and from controversy of endorsement or non-endorsement, fake bishop or no fake bishop. It will help the candidate to ensure that he moves away from controversy. And if you check the result of 1979 election, Awolowo did not win overwhelmingly in the Southwest. You'll be shocked with the number of votes that Shagari polled, that NPM polled in the Southwest concerning the presidential election. The results are there, that the margin of the votes that they were able to poll, even in the Southwest, where you have Awolowo's dominant presence. Not to talk of a situation whereby there's no dominant presence compared to Awolowo when you compare Asiwaju to. So I think they need to address issues and leave the mundane issues of endorsement or no endorsement. This particularly works better in America, but in Nigeria, it worked for them in 19. I can understand the desperation, because without the endorsement of Afenifere, Tinubu would have become the governor of Lagos State in 1999. It would have been Funsho Williams. It would have been Funsho Williams. In actual sense, 4 local government elections were cancelled in 1999 for Tinubu to win the nomination of Action Alliance for Democracy in 1999. The result of Ifakojai local government, Ikorodu local government, Mushin local government, and Lagos Island local government were added to the result of the primaries of the Alliance for Democracy. Funsho Williams will have become the gubernatorial candidate of the AD. So I could see the desperation for those that understand the politics of Lagos and the politics of the Southwest.
Jide, let's quickly look at the issue, the dollar crisis, and the solutions or the actions from government and her agencies. The EFCC plans massive raid on forex dealers. What do you make of this?
It's only in Nigeria that you have an informal sector engaging in Naira exchange. Where do you go to anywhere in the world that you see people selling their currency on the road? There's none. There's none. Where you see people trading in the currency. If you want to do any transaction, you go to commercial banks, or for you to get this done. Also, it's only in Nigeria that you see that governors and government officials will be spending foreign currency. We have preference and for as legal tender, as the currency of exchange. It's only in Nigeria you see it. It's only in Nigeria that you see that governors will openly be spending dollars, ministers will openly be spending dollars, and then so the taste and the demand for dollar will always be on the increase. We have it on record that there are states in Nigeria where the governors will, the governor then, but the joke someone shared, he said he would have loved America to come out with the idea that they want to change the color or the design of the dollar, and that people should submit or should deposit or should lodge the dollars they have in the bank at a particular date. That after that date, then the dollar becomes irrelevant. He said that's when you see the panic among the Nigerian elites and the Nigerian the Nigerian political class. So he said this naira, the one for naira is nothing. So what is
really funny.
What is even to people? You will see when we have had cases of governors giving dollars. These are the people that the FCC should arrest, as far as I'm concerned. Why would you make dollar to be the legal tender, the currency of exchange in Nigeria, and you relegate your home? So what value do you think over time? What value, even if you give a kid, Kofi and Messi, if you show a 2-year-old a dollar and a naira, the 2-year-old will go for a dollar. That's how bad the perceptual value of our currency is. And then we are talking of the currency improving in value. People make money from exchanging, from engaging in parallel market. They will buy the dollar at official rate, and they will go and sell at the parallel market. So it's
but today,
we have a situation.
I mean, can it be compared to what the city is actually facing in Ghana?
While we were in secondary school, while I was in secondary school, we had a lot of Ghanaians until there was a policy of GMG. We had a lot of Ghanaians. CDs was regarded as toilet paper in the 80s. What has happened to the value of CDs over time? It improved considerably until the recent economic meltdown necessitated by the lockdown and the COVID measure, which brought about a halt in business activities, which has affected almost every currency all over the world. It's only the naira that has engaged in the free fall, and this free fall will continue. This free fall will continue until we make naira to be the legal tender, the currency of exchange in Nigeria. Even for government, for central bank governors, for officials of central bank and the ministries and agencies of government, dollar is more fashionable to them than naira.
All right, Julie Johnson. Let's go back to leadership this morning with this look at the terror alerts by the foreign missions in Nigeria, foreign embassies, and the federal government through the Minister of Information and Culture, Alhaji Lai Mohammed, pointing out that the terror alerts are having a devastating impact on Nigeria's economy. Maybe they shouldn't be given these alerts if that is the case. What's your take on this?
What was his initial reaction when the terror alert was raised? Raising terror alert is not something new. or something. It's something which is done in civilized society all the time. You have level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, level 5. So they release this alert for you to be conscious. But you know, we are in a society whereby government officials are well protected by the various security agencies they have. So they care less about the citizens. But in other climes, the citizens are the master. Sovereignty resides with the people. So they raise terror alert. In London, they raise terror alert from different types of levels, and which determines the different measure. I recall the initial reaction of the minister saying that in this country they have terrorist issue. So why are they raising? Now he's talking about it to utter. Why would he not utter our economy? They have their own intelligence. They have their own intelligence in dealing with terror. In dealing with terrorism and other security issues. It's about the level of your intelligence. And intelligence is interpretation of information. What are the information you have gathered? What sense are you making of it? Now they gathered the information and they interpreted it. They came up with an intelligence report. Before they released it publicly, they must have shared this with agencies of government in Nigeria. These are the stuffs, and these are the things, these are the intelligence you have gathered. What are the steps you are taking? And you didn't do anything about it, and you expect them to continue with it, and you think it will not hurt. You see, it is very, very clear that there's no doubt that it will hurt the economy. Because, one, let's take, for example, the embassies of United Kingdom and United States were closed in Abuja. People that want to go for a visa or people that want to come to Nigeria to do business and rest of it, will they come to Nigeria? So I just think that the minister needs to be more cautious and more proactive in releasing.
All right, Jide Johnson, thank you so much. We have to go. We look forward to sharing your thoughts on Friday, all things Spain Equal. That's the much that we can take, and we do appreciate your time.
Thank you, Mercy, and thank you, Kofi. Have a wonderful midweek.
You too.
And our condolences to Davido and Chema.
Very sad one indeed. Thank you very much, Jide. So we'll take a break. We'll look at what happened today in history. Today, of course, being the second day in the month of November. And yesterday was the anniversary of the Ikoyi building collapse. When we return, we'll continue more conversations, of course, right here on The Breakfast. Please stay with us.
Politicizing our humanity. You see, Nigeria today has become a den of unknown gunmen. And I say that because for every new report you see now, any news, anything, you see unknown gunmen kills 20, unknown gunmen kidnaps 50. So any small thing is unknown gunmen. And the level of insecurity in the country today has risen. You know, so today we no longer ask whether our lives and properties are secured. We only ask who is next to be killed or kidnapped. You know, we check and we see, okay, whose family is next? Which family is going to be thrown into mourning? So right now, Nigerians are only waiting, and we're waiting and saying, whose turn is it going to be? The level of insecurity in the country has become extremely worrisome. The lapses created by government, by the inaction of government. You know, government had the opportunity to nip this insecurity in the bud. You know, when it started. You know, it started like play. It wasn't this bad. It wasn't this bad. But now, because of government's inaction, we are caught up. And it seems as if there's nothing that we can do about it again. So now it is even worse. It is worse that we as citizens are not making enough noise about the right things. We are concerned about some other things. So despite the worrisome state of our dear nation, the plague of politicizing any little thing, we are quick to say, now this party they run amo, now this party they do amo, is because of this party. And so right now, we are trivializing the problems and the challenges that we are facing as a nation. So there are talks all over social media claiming that the violence and actions leading to the high level of insecurity, which now threatens our very existence, are sponsored. Members of the ruling and opposition parties have thrown all caution to the wind, and they exchange blames. It is this party, it is that party, rather than just actually recognizing terrorism for what terrorism is and taking actions to stop the incessant killings and kidnappings, which is threatening the very existence of Nigerians. We must stand united or fall divided. We must stand united. Nigeria is at the very brink. We are at the very brink of war. And I don't think we are saying this enough. I think everyone is just looking at, okay, maybe because the thing never touched me, make we just look at, and everyone is just playing with the situation. The situation has become so dire and would worsen if we do not join voices and actions and implore the government to take decisive actions to protect the lives and properties of the people. We must educate and reorientate ourselves. We must advocate for peace and tolerance. Negative and irresponsible tribal comments, it has no other thing to do than to incite violence. So it breeds this intolerance that we have for ourselves, and this tribe will say, now these people, if these people come out, we will get peace and all of those things. And then we wonder why some people are killing another tribe, and why another tribe is killing another tribe. So I feel we must be able to preach peace and preach unity, if at all we want to see the end of security responsibilities. Yes, at federal government level, there are some powers that you cannot just take away. But let the security apparatus in the police, security operatives that you have, let them be responsible to state governments. Let state governments take charge. Let them take charge. A governor of a particular state will not be looking at while his state is burning, and the governor is crying to federal government to come and help. So what then is the duty, and what then is the work of the state government? We had mentioned earlier, but I'm just going to chip in again, that religious leaders have a role to play. You find religious leaders being totally irresponsible and reckless with the comments that they make, knowing fully well the power that you wield as a religious leader, knowing fully well the hundreds of thousands, perhaps millions of people that listen to you and take your word as law. You need to be very careful. You need to be cautious of how you urge people on, because comments that you make in ways incite violence against perhaps other religions, and then you have this religion attacking this religion. Oh, they attacked us first. Oh, they attacked us first. So I think now is the time for our religious leaders to come together and preach peace and tolerance is very important. So once again, I would say conclusively that I think we need there's never been a time to call for peace and to call for tolerance and to call for unity as now, using our voices, using our platforms to advocate for peace. Because at the end of the day, like I said, it's just turning and turning and turning, and Nigerians are just looking at who is the next person to fall victim.
With a population of over 200 million, Nigeria is the most populous black country on earth.
We are diverse, strong, vibrant, and mostly young. We are yet to reach the land of our dreams.
We can write, tell, and be our own story.
From the economy, education, security to politics, you name it.
We can build the Nigeria of our dreams if we work together.
Join us on The Run-Up, to discuss and proffer solutions to the issues confronting our polity every weekday. I am Bayo.
I am Uche.
And I am Nyamgul. We invite you to The Run-Up, 11 a.m. Monday to Friday on this channel.
How can we have peace without justice?
Plus Politics. It's not just another political conversation, it's about keeping you in the know. The relevant interviews, asking the tough questions to those that matter. Get the answers you need. Does it mean that the people who were injured, people who were shot at, those who were involved in that stampede are not going to get justice?
It is unfortunate, it is sad that we have a government of deaf and dumb.
Analysis from top experts.
The last election was not really an election.
We feel that Obasanjo has a very special place in his heart for hating Ijaw people.
I think it really boils down to two things. One, trust and accountability.
Plus Politics, every weeknight at 7 p.m. on Plus TV Africa.
It's not just the parents that have to do this. We put a lot of emphasis on government, we put a lot of emphasis on schools, but the service sector is completely left out of this conversation, and it's really important because they touch the families every day.
When we are making intervention, at the back of our mind, that plan that you're drawing up should also say on X amount of times or hours, you as the parents have to have X number of training.
Not just about the training, okay? So as we're collecting data in the center, you're collecting data at home. We give you the exact same plan.
From my own experience is that the children are usually the best advocates.
Absolutely.
Because the children have been informed and they have also experienced it, we find that they tend to go home and tell their parents the appropriate things to do.
I had no desire to study law, none whatsoever. I was more inclined to fine arts. My only ambition, I would say, was to become the chief prosecutor. For me, politicians are a bit too playful. That's what I believe. And since '99, we've seen how much investment in social events, in launching some streets that you just started, and the whole day will be spent on this occasion. Rich people are generally law-abiding. We are not law-abiding. So another problem of administration is that people don't follow the rules.
Timeless Conversations, airing every Sunday at 8:30 p.m.
It's limited. A day before the strike, some domestic airlines issued travel advisories early Tuesday morning to passengers scheduled to fly from the domestic terminal of the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, also known as MMIA2, in Lagos, ahead of the strike, which they feared would disrupt the flight operations of the day. Azmane advises passengers departing Lagos from Lagos to check in very early yesterday morning so they will not miss their flights. A statement signed by its management and put up on its official Twitter handle, the airline said it was monitoring the situation. Another airline, Ibom Air, in another statement signed by its management, warned that already Murtala Mohammed Airport 2 had at the time they were sending the message out been shut down by their labor union. But what's behind all of this? Well, the union had last week accused by Courtney Aviation Services Limited, operator of the Murtala Mohammed International Airport 2 terminal, of what it calls a witch hunt following the company's sack of 37 workers. The union alleged that by Courtney, rather than implement certain conditions of service both parties had agreed to in 2021, resorted to the sacking of the association's members in its establishment. Joining us to look at this and analyze these developments, we have Olumide Ohio, who is the Assistant Secretary General, Aviation Safety Roundtable Initiative. He's an aviation analyst in Lagos. Olumide, thank you very much for your time and good morning to you.
Thank you. Good morning.
All right. this issue between Bicotny and, of course, aviation workers. Is a company, does it have a right to fire whoever it wants to fire, whenever it wants to fire, bearing in mind that Bicotny is a private sector company, not a government agency?
Well, the company has the right to hire and fire, and I have reasons not to give, not to tell us why they have fired their staff, and also why they have hired the staff. It's a private organization; it's not publicly quoted, so it has its own rules of engagement. Again, some of the staff are members of the union. That we must get clear, and that union is the Air Transport Services Senior Staff Association of Nigeria. Those who embarked on that blockade yesterday. So those staff, being members of the union, were the ones that were sacked. Now, what was the reason? I really can't fathom what the reasons are, but I know there have been this pushback and back and forth between the Artisan Union and the management over the sacking of those 30 members. Not all are union members, but some of them, the union members were part of the 30 that were sacked. They were first suspended. They were at home to join the suspension, and a letter of an email was sent changing the suspension to sack. And the unions went out yesterday. I think they had been told if they could resolve the issue before by using the last option, which is available, which is embarking on the total strike and blockade of the organization, which happened yesterday.
Olumide, are you still with us? Olumide, can you hear us? Oh, well.
But, I think we have lost Olumide because of technical issue there. It happens from time to time. We'll try to contact him as quickly as we can. But he was making a point, Mercy, that they have a right to hire and fire. I was listening to some commentary on my way to work this morning, and someone was saying, no, the strikes have become too much. Anybody, any group, any union has an issue and they embark on strike. And most of these strikes actually are national sabotage, economic sabotage. I'm sort of happy that people are being affected now, and Nigerians are saying, hey, wait a minute, you have... Okay, I think we have him back. Olumide Ohoayo, are you there, please? Can you hear me? Olumide, can you hear me, please? Do we have you back?
Very well, I can hear you.
Fantastic,
yes,
thank you very much. Yes, thank you very much. So please continue with the point you were making.
Can you hear me? I can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear. Yeah, please go on.
Yes, like I said, that there was the back and forth between the unions and the management over the sack of those guys. Those guys the industry is in a dire state now. We cannot phantom or have that energy now to take more pains for passengers and organizations within the industry.
So, I mean, in all that you're saying is that the union actually acted contrary without following due process, and however, it obstructed other business activities. Will there be any sort of, compensation or, legal action? Because this might just also just be a lead, to other unions where we expect people to act irrational.
Well, you're breaking up, but...
So I'm asking, I'm saying that from your analysis, you're saying that, it's not legal. The union didn't follow due process as much as they have a right to, to protest, but they don't have a right to obstruct other businesses. So will there be any recompense or, compensation? Because a lot of persons were stranded yesterday. Some people, missed their flight to important appointment, business dealings and what have you. Is there going to be any sort of penalty? Oh, well, so we're hoping that we establish contact, with our guests as soon as we can.
I think Olumide, can you hear us, please?
Olumide, can you hear us? So Kofi, let's talk about this. So this is what it is. As much as we have, right to protest grievances, whatever it is, within a certain sphere, but how do you explain the fact that some people, were disrupted? I mean, you talk about activities, economic activities or whatever activity. A lot of persons were headed to their different destination for several, reasons. I'm sure that people had meetings, business meetings, interviews, what have you. But so will there be any sort of compensation, or should there be any kind of, compensation or punishment to this particular action? Because it's okay, to act in a certain way, but what happens when, that right now begins to infringe on another person's right, because that's what it is. How come those who had booked for flight, those people who actually booked for their flight had booked for their flight prior to yesterday? And so what business, do they really have? Why couldn't they, get to their destination? It's quite... For Olumide, do we have you now? Hello, Olumide, can you hear us? Not quite favorable right here. Well, we're still, hoping that we'll establish contact back with our guest and, share his thoughts. And we know that there's a lot of, a lot going on in different industries and sector. And the aviation industry is not left out of all of this. But yes, it is protests left too many persons stranded. Looking at the concerns, are there other ways that this would have been handled, without shutting activities at the airport, without disrupting, activities, because it led to, suspension of flight and people couldn't, go about their normal business? Any sort of compensation? Should there be any sort of, punishment? And how should, unions actually act? Is there a procedure that they should follow? These are some of the questions we're hoping to get answers for as we proceed. But quickly, what do you really think? Talking about union and what they should do in terms of, going about protesting, demanding their rights.
Mercy, I was saying, I'm happy.
You're happy in what sense?
Yes, I'm happy because, Nigerians usually rise to the defense of unions. It's okay. It's okay. Government is not always... They've not always covered themselves in glory. The federal government especially, they've not always covered themselves in glory. But you see, sometimes you have to be careful what you wish for. If you go into the details of some of these things the unions do, you shut down schools for a whole number of months, all right? And then, even when issues have been, negotiations have gone to a particular extent, still, you have the power to say, we're not going back to school. And sometimes when some people say, okay, let's look at this matter and see, is there even anything that we can say, okay, this striking, workers, they can also take a blame for. People say, you're like they say, siding with the government. Let's enjoy it. Now it's almost like a free-for-all. We're giving license to the unions to do whatever they want. So striking workers now, if they fire, a private company fires people, says, we don't want you to work for us again. They shut down an entire airport. It is not done. Mercy. It is not done. And there needs to be a conversation about the responsibility and the proper way to address industrial issues by these unions. I'm happy. Let's enjoy it, because this is what we promote. We celebrate these people. All in the name of government. These unions, some of them have pushed it too far. Let's look at the electricity workers in Abuja, who because of promotion exam, shut the entire national grid. Mercy. Because of promotion exam, shut the entire national grid. They even filmed themselves shutting it. We hereby 5, 4, 3, 2, we shut. Bruh, they shut it down. The whole nation went people who are on life support, people whose livelihood, maybe they sell pure water, they have to everything done, you know. So do we have Mr. Ohuayo back on the line?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, yeah, yes.
Sorry for the network.
Sorry about it. Happens. We're also sorry about that. So you were making a point, which would like you to land on, maybe in a sentence or two, so we can move to the next question. Please.
Okay, yeah. Like I said earlier, you don't have a right to go on strike, but you don't have a right to impede other people's businesses and inflict pain on Nigerians. Again, when you go on strike at this time, when the industry is in their state, you need to measure your actions. You have stopped airlines from flying yesterday. This airline and other organizations within that terminal that could not work also would sack some staff. That be even more than the 30 people we are protecting, and they're supposed to be protecting all Nigerians. So I think there must be some moderation, and they would need to find a middle way of using that last option without obstructing other people's business. If that picketing and affected only the BSL management, the uproar would not have been much. But here's an industry that's already in a dead state. We have a high security situation. The naira is depleting every day. So much pain. Then the union brought some pains to passengers and some operators yesterday. That wasn't fair. I think that strike wasn't probably managed. They were able to achieve their result, but that strike wasn't probably managed.
Do you sense some sort of witch hunt here? Because by Courtney Aviation Services Limited, the management had an agreement with the affected union of workers, and they reneged on it according to what they're saying, and that after 2 weeks after asking them to proceed on leave, gave the affected workers, including the union's chairman, they are part of those who are affected, the union's chairman, the union secretary, the union's treasurer, the union's women leader, okay, and these are of the by Courtney Aviation Services Limited chapter termination letters. Do you suspect there's some this is targeted at unionists, people who are members of this aviation union by Courtney Aviation Services Limited?
I think they had some problems with the unions, because when you look at those sacked, almost every member of the executive of the union were asked to go home. And when you sack workers based on productivity, competence, and other related issues to work. But when you take the whole executive of the ESCO, that means there was a dispute between the management and the union, and the union when the management was very drastic in taking out all the union members. That wasn't a very good thing to do in terms of industrial relations. And if you wanted peace, you should have measured your arrows and take your bullets one after the other. I think that they misfired there. Again, the management did not come to the public. They did not tell us the story until when the airport had been shut down. But this issue has been going on. You know, have been coming. I've been issuing press releases warning of using the last straw, which is the strike, as a weapon for getting results from the management. All that period, we did not hear anything from the management until when that place was shut down yesterday, and they did not release the statement until about late in the evening. Not able to tell their clients and their passengers using the terminal that they had issues. They did not make any form of public communication to help passengers know there was a problem and there's a need for them to go to the other airport. When airlines were trying to communicate with their passengers of the alternate terminal, the management of that airport did not do anything. So I expect them to lead that process of compensating passengers, compensating operators, and every other business that was affected in that terminal. And yesterday, you can't just be collecting money from people, collecting rent, increasing charges, and yet we not provide services. I think Basel management should accept responsibility for yesterday's catastrophe.
So with all of this now, we understand that the union have a right to protest, but of course not following due procedure. Do you think there's going to be a penalty, some sort of punishment for, this particular action, impeding on the rights of other people?
It will be very difficult for me to use the words not following due process or due procedure, because the Basel management said they had a judgment from the industrial court stopping the strike. Said they did not see a copy. You don't have a right to go on strike, but they don't have a right to disrupt business of other companies and passengers that had nothing to do with Basel management. That is my position. That's my point. And that competition must come. It must come from the Basel management for now. That while the industry players and the aviation security team of all the airports must devise a way to ensure that this does not happen. Again, we cannot suffer people who are innocent for offense of the management of one company. That wasn't right. I was not comfortable with that, with the Basel management.
The aviation sector, Olumide, is one of the few sectors that has its own ministry. You know, we have a Ministry of Transportation, but aviation has its own ministry. Do you think the aviation minister has done well in allowing this matter to get to this point where an entire airport, this is the most modern, I think, a local terminal, or the busiest local terminal in Nigeria, is being shut?
Let me say that having our own ministry is not a blessing to us. I think it's just a way of it's how close you are to the government in power that determines whether they become ministry. By the time this government started, we were under the Ministry of Transportation, and we did not want the minister because of the interference we've seen in the past. And today we don't have board of directors in any of the aviation agencies because we have a very powerful minister that deals directly with the presidency and has made all the agencies report to him, play along on his own card. So we are not really happy having a Minister of Aviation. What we wanted was just give us, let us be Transportation Ministry. Let us have an independent regulator in the Nigerian Aviation Authority, and let us have a commercially run Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria and a professionally run NAMA and other agencies. But what do we have? We got a lot of interference from the ministry and from the minister and his team, and I think that has not really helped the industry. But coming to the strike of yesterday, I don't think that had anything to do with Minister of Aviation. It was between a private company, Basel, and their unions. What the industry might need to do now is, with what has happened yesterday, in order to mitigate and prevent such recurrence, whereby innocent travelers and organizations not involved are being penalized and punished and made to go lose money and not to operate. We need to work out with that to ensure that all future activities do not affect organizations and passengers.
All right.
Non-related organizations, I mean. Non-related organizations.
All right. Thank you so much, Olumide Huanyo. It's been a pleasure having you. And as always, anytime you're here with us on the breakfast, is always an expert analysis from you as far as the issues in the aviation sector are concerned. We just hope that this matter will be sorted out today, so that people can resume the using. It was sorted out. It was sorted out last night. Last night. Okay. So this morning is the MM2 the local terminal there? Is it? Or are people still using the GAT?
No, it's not fully open. The airlines have started operating this morning, but we cannot have a recurrence, and we need to work towards that.
All right. Thank you so much. There's a lot of issues in the aviation sector. I wish you had time to look into all of them, but we thank you so much for your time. Olumide Huanyo is the Assistant Secretary General of Aviation Safety Roundtable Initiative, is an aviation analyst and reaches us live from Lagos, Nigeria. We'll take a short break, and when we return, we'll talk fuel subsidy. There's a lot going on there, and we'll have an analyst join us to look at the issues. Stay with us.
Nigeria's Niger Delta region, from where the black gold fuels Africa's largest economy, where the lines between wealth and poverty has never been thinner. Conflicts, poverty, insecurity, and environmental challenges daily confront the region. How can the Niger Delta story be changed for the better?
Join Mamude Akuga at 9 p.m. every Friday evening on Plus TV Africa as he probes deep in search of solutions.
Inside the Niger Delta with Mamude Akuga, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region.
Nigeria, by extension, Africa, is faced with a lot of challenges. The growing youth population with little engagement, that is a ticking time bomb. We are a blessed people with diverse culture and highly cerebral minds who have a lot to say. And yes, we are talking. It is important we drive the right conversation that informs, inspires, influences thoughts and action. If we say there's beauty in our diversity, then let us embrace our diverse culture. We must continue to courageously be the voice of transformation as we are the hope for the future. Yesterday's conversations shape today. What are you saying to shape your tomorrow? We know you have a lot to say, and we are here to hear you.
Did you know that Akin Lewis graduated with a first-class degree in acting and directing?
People don't know that I read drama. Actually, I have a master's degree, first class, in acting and directing.
Did you know that Akin Lewis has been in the acting profession for 49 years?
When we started acting, drama as it were, there was no money in it. Now, this is my 49th year.
Yeah.
There was no money in it to the Civil War.
Yes.
I was almost killed. Matter of fact, I was killed. I was almost killed. Yeah. But in the mind of the fellow who did it, he killed me already. Yeah, because what they did was, as it is, I was a lot lighter, and then I have this mark.
Okay.
And then, so I passed easily for an Igbo boy.
Wow.
And that's what they didn't bother to find out. This mark, which I got from a broken bottle.
I was going to say, how did that
I fell into the gutter years before. And so that I healed. My father said you shouldn't stitch it. And so that my hair. So then when they saw it now, they thought I was evil.
Did you know that Akin Lewis is a polyglot, speaking 7 languages fluently?
You speak so many languages. Which are which?
Well, I speak Hausa. I speak French. Of course, English. Bulgarian. Yoruba, that's my mother tongue. And Creole. Which is, and Pidgin. It's a different form of Pidgin.
Okay, Creole, that's...
Yeah, from Sierra Leone.
Did you know that Remy Ogunbiton lived most of his childhood and all his teenage years in the United Kingdom?
In England, they sent for us. I was about 5 or 6. That's my junior sister was about 5. We went to join them. And we were with them there for many, many years. We went to school, went to university, started work.
Did you know that Remy Ogunbiton served in the British Army?
I was then, by the time we came back, I had left school, I left university. I was in the British Army. And I spent some time in the British Army, in the Ordnance Corps. And that was where I got the love for video communications and all of those kind of things.
Did you know that Remy Ogunbiton is from a royal family?
You get that mix of, Ijebu, where that is my origins.
Yes.
My mother is from, she always used to tease my father when he used to misbehave, that look, don't talk to me anyhow. I'm from a royal family. My father is the Daguri of Idowa. So my mother was from a royal family.
But Idowa is also Ijebu now.
Yeah, Ijebu, yeah.
Did you know that Remy Ogunbiton worked with the United States Information Service?
The American Embassy came along and offered me an opportunity that I couldn't resist.
What was that opportunity?
They offered me a job at the United States Information Service.
That's the breakfast in Plus TV Africa. We quickly look at the issue of subsidy and the fact that the Nigerian Employers Consultative Association is in support of fuel subsidy removal as planned by the federal government. The position of the association is that for us to remove fuel subsidy while you deal with the issue of 4 refineries, if we make 4 refineries functional, then we have no business importing, and that we will crush the issue of subsidy totally. This is the position of the Nigerian Employers Consultative Association. Well, they also said that the controversy around subsidy regime is that some have called it a scam, organized crime, while the key officials in the OAPS, organized private sector, and key officials of government also saying that it calls for deep reflection. Well, the boss highlighted that there had been calls for the judiciary to tackle the much debated subsidy issue and recommended that the government revisit the reasons for non-functionality of the country's 4 refineries. We have turnaround maintenance over 4 times 4 refineries in the country as, big issues. And the issue of subsidy and its removal will never end until we get to a point where the refineries are functional or subsidies really removed, whatever the case may be. Zaka Bala joins us this morning. It's good to have you join us, Bala.
Thank you.
All right. I'd like to share your thoughts on this. We're still talking about subsidy and its removal. But do you think that it makes any sense for the government to remove subsidy without the refineries working, and the issue of theft of, crude oil, with the fact that pipelines are being vandalized, which has affected productivity?
Thank you for that excellent question. Even if we fix the refineries, I can tell you that subsidy is not supposed to be removed. You see, the biggest mistake we are doing when it comes to this subject of oil and gas, energy source from fossil fuels, a lot of people don't know the difference between deregulation and liberalization. They don't know the difference between commercialization and privatization. So when they keep talking like this, the best thing is to be very practical when answering them. The people talking to you right now and saying, NECA, with due respect to NECA that is talking now, none of the guys in NECA, including the person that those saying subsidy should be removed, ask them a very simple and elementary question. Do they know that subsidy has been removed in aviation fuel, diesel, and kerosene? And if they say yes, let them mention one benefit that Nigerians have benefited since the removal of subsidy on the price of diesel. The only thing Nigerians have experienced and benefited is that before the removal of the subsidy, the price of a liter of diesel was 80 naira. It has been removed now. As at yesterday, a liter of diesel was 800 naira, meaning that a 25-liter jerry can will now cost 20,000 Nigerian naira. And another thing they need to understand also is this: because of the removal of the subsidy on the price of diesel, strategic industrial sectors, strategic domestic sectors, and strategic commercial sectors have collapsed. That's why print and electronic media in particular, like yours now, if you go to many states, they do not work beyond 10 o'clock, 10 p.m. They're shut down. That is why when you go to banks now, in banks, many banks open at 9 o'clock and they close at 2 or 3 o'clock. Is that not affecting productivity? Subsidy has been removed on the price of aviation fuel. Are we not seeing the flight cancellation and mass sack? If you go to all these strategic sectors now, quote me that I said company income tax will go down now because the source of energy has been asphyxiated. We remove subsidy on diesel, we remove subsidy on price of aviation fuel, we remove subsidy on the price of kerosene. Let them show me one extra development that Nigerians have experienced. The only product remaining now to remove subsidy on is petrol. So when they are saying we should remove subsidy on the price of petrol, it's because they didn't know that, or they have failed to understand that subsidy has been removed on the other 3 products. The only thing we have experienced is mass increase in prices of things. A sachet of pure water that used to be 3 naira, 5 naira, is now 25 Nigerian naira. If you remove subsidy on the only product remaining now, quote me today and call the NECA people and tell them that I said a price of sachet water will get to 50 naira or 100 naira. Let them tell me how development will come to Nigeria. Let them explain to people like me how we will see competitive prices and all those investors that they are saying will come. If we have removed subsidy on price of 3 different products already, only one product is remaining, and investors have not come. So let them show me what they are saying. You see, these people are talking from lack of experience. Let me give you one practical example. Apart from the vandalization and crude oil theft, one of the reasons why many oil companies are finding it very difficult to operate now is because almost all the drilling rigs, almost all the equipment and tugboats they use are run on diesel. And the cost of diesel is very expensive. For those who are in Lagos, let them go to Marina. If they go to Marina, opposite the former Nitel and Nipos, you will see start drilling rigs that are not active because they don't have contract. You will see tugboats, you will see vessels. All those vessels are running on diesel. And at the cost of 800 naira per liter, tell me if the owners will break even. Go to hospitals and see what is happening now. If you have a 100-bed capacity hospital, even if they have only 5 patients, they must run generator throughout the night. If you go to a hotel that is supposed to have 10 guests, 200 guests, even if they have just 20 guests, they must run diesel and generator throughout the night. Let's be honest, how can they break even? It's the same thing with the industry.
Yes,
many people do not have experience and they don't even know the difference between deregulation and liberalization.
Zakabala, because of time, we're out of time. Zakabala, just to ask you, you're aware of the ongoing fuel scarcity in the country. What's the reason, you're an oil and gas sector, what's the reason behind this ongoing fuel scarcity? And don't you think that government right now cannot afford that, let me say, deregulation of the downstream sector will be the best way to provide, a seamless flow?
Right. They need energy. And because there is no electricity, they need to now generate energy using generators. And because of the high cost of diesel, the only product they can run to is they will go and use the petrol. And that's why you go to even big hotel, banks, and other places, they have to move towards using petrol. And that's why even the consumption of petrol went high. All the cars we are having now, before now, is basic for transportation. Had it been there is an option, I think the people can put ogogoro in their generator tanks, or they can put palm oil in their car tanks or generator. Nobody will bother. And if government can provide electricity, there will be growth at the filling station. Even if the price of petrol is 15 naira per liter, many people will not buy. If you go to houses now, because of this coronavirus and many people are working at home, and
we have to go now. We have to go. Let's have this conversation some other time. Zakabala, we appreciate your thoughts this morning, and we're just still hoping that we'll come to a point of compromise as a government and as a people. Zakabala is an oil and gas analyst. He joins us from Ibadan. That's the much we can take this morning on The Breakfast. Thank you so much for being part of the show. We will return tomorrow, all things being equal. And it's okay to follow us if you missed out on any part of the conversation. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel as a Plus TV Africa and Plus TV Africa Lifestyle. My name is Mercy Bokbo. Have a fantastic morning.
My name is Kofi Bartels. Have a great day. We'll be back tomorrow. Good morning.
So what are the top decisions that the United States considers necessary that Nigeria must take? I like to think of my interactions as conversations, not interviews. And that's why I say asking questions is both an art and a science. Everyone says in Islam you are allowed to have 4 wives. Is it mandatory? The right question enables answers that educate, inform, clarify, and help you, the viewer, to better understand the issue before making up your mind.
Our goal is to reduce from 10 to 2 days the time it takes to register businesses in Nigeria.
Join me every week on this station, Plus TV Africa, and gain exclusive access to my conversations. I'm Angela Ajetumobi.
How can we have peace without justice?
Plus Politics. It's not just another political conversation, it's about keeping you in the know. The relevant interviews, asking the tough questions to those that matter. Get the answers you need. Does it mean that the people who were injured, people who were shot at, those who were involved in that stampede are not going to get justice?
It is unfortunate, it is sad that we have a government of deaf and dumb.
Analysis from top experts.
The last election was not really an election.
We feel that Obasanjo has a very special place in his heart for hating Ijaw people.
I think it really boils down to 2 things. 1, trust and accountability.
Plus Politics, every weeknight at 7 p.m. on Plus TV Africa.
Nigeria, by extension, Africa, is faced with a lot of challenges. The growing you must continue to courageously be the voice of transformation, as we are the hope for the future. Yesterday's conversations shape today. What are you saying to shape your tomorrow? We know you have a lot to say, and we are here to hear you.
Nigeria's Niger Delta region, from where the black gold fuels Africa's largest economy, where the lines between wealth and poverty has never been thinner. Conflicts, poverty, insecurity, and environmental challenges daily confront the region. How can the Niger Delta story be changed for the better?
Join Mamude Akuga at 9 p.m. every Friday evening on Plus TV Africa as he probes deep in search of solutions.
Inside the Niger Delta with Mamude Akuga, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region.
This is it for upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Bukky November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on Plus TV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to. With a population of over 200 million, Nigeria is the most populous black country on earth.
We are diverse, strong, vibrant, and mostly young. We are yet to reach the land of our dreams.
We can write, tell, and be our own story.
From the economy, education, security to politics, you name it.
We can build the Nigeria of our dreams if we work together.
Join us on The Run-Up to discuss and proffer solutions to the issues confronting our polity every weekday. I am Bayo.
I am Uche.
And I am Nyamgul. We invite you to The Run-Up, 11 a.m. Monday to Friday on this channel.
This is it for upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
welcome to Plus Trending. I am Bookie November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on Plus TV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
Nigeria's Niger Delta region, from where the black gold fuels Africa's largest economy, where the lines between wealth and poverty has never been thinner. Conflicts, poverty, insecurity, and environmental challenges daily confront the region. How can the Niger Delta story be changed for the better?
Join Mamude Akuga at 9 p.m. every Friday evening on Plus TV Africa as he probes deep in search of solutions.
Inside the Niger Delta with Mamude Akuga, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region.
Good morning, I am Uchechukwu Onodo. This is News Brief. As the House of Representatives begins its oversight on the Nigerian armed forces in the face of heightened security challenges in the country, the Nigerian Army says it has recorded major successes in curbing banditry and insurgency in the country. The Army Chief said this during his budget defense session with the House Committee on Army. Our correspondent, Emmanuel Ehijene, completes the report.
Insecurity remains a hydra-headed challenge across states in Nigeria, but the government has continued to say it is up to the task of defending the citizenry in the face of many deaths, kidnappings, and banditry. The Chief of Army Staff was at the House of Representatives to defend the institution's 2023 budget, seizing the occasion to address various steps taken to tackle insecurity in the country so far.
For the Nigerian Army, it means consolidating the gains recorded in tackling insecurity in its various shades and the attendant challenges. It is a call not to slack. It is a call not to sleep. And it is a call to re-strategize and ultimately conquer the enemy. Before I proceed, let me on behalf of the committee acknowledge the vision of the current Chief of Army Staff, which is to have a professional Nigerian Army to accomplish assigned missions within a joint environment in defense of Nigeria. The vision which centers around working in full collaboration with heads of other sister security agencies, no doubt contributed immensely to the recent successes recorded by our security forces in the counter-insurgency, terrorism operation, fighting banditry, kidnapping, and other criminal acts that threaten our collective existence as a nation.
The Chairman, Committee on Army, Honorable Abdulrazak Namdis, sets the tone by commending the Chief of Army Staff for the successes recorded so far in the fight against insurgency, banditry, and kidnapping. In his response, the Army Chief commends the lawmakers for their support to the Army, but is quick to call for increased welfare packages for soldiers.
These efforts require deliberate investment in personnel welfare, leadership capacity building, procurement of necessary equipment, platforms and infrastructure, which are hinged on adequate funding. I recognize the need to constantly boost the morale of the fighting troops. Hence, I pay them constant operational visits to give strategic guidance. This approach has been yielding good results as observed in the unprecedented surrender of Boko Haram terrorists and their families since I took over the mantle of leadership. Significantly on the human resources and lean finances available to the Nigerian Army. This therefore calls for a review of the current envelope budgeting system. The envelope system leads to inadequate funding of the Nigerian Army for the performance of its constitutional duties.
The committee dissolves into an executive session to address other sensitive security matters of national interest.
Meanwhile, the Ministry of Defense says it is working with the Foreign Affairs Ministry to interface with the US and UK governments to ensure all sensitive information like the recent security alerts are issued responsibly in the future.
Chairman of the House Committee on Defense, Honorable Babajimi Benson, in his welcome remark, tasks the Defense Ministry to take the security alerts issued by the US and UK embassies seriously.
These robust achievements, which is a proof of the level of professionalism often displayed by our military in the discharge of their duties. However, this committee requests that the armed forces of Nigeria should take note of the recent security alerts in Nigeria by the US government. We urge you to effectively collaborate with sister security agencies to ensure that all security threats are completely neutralized and Nigerians can live peacefully.
But the minister is confident that the military and other sister security agencies are on top of the situation.
The Security Council met and we discussed this threat, and it was believed that we will not take it lightly. We try to verify the source of the threat or the pronouncement made by the U.S. government. We try to identify countries that are also interested in the same remarks made by the United States government, and we are of the opinion that we were able to subject the details to our intelligence organizations, and they have provided answers to those areas which the government is in doubt.
On envelope system budgeting for the ministry says a more vertical budgeting system for the military would have been more effective for a more robust armed forces.
The implication is that the Honorable Minister does not have direct influence on the other segment of the budget as it is now. It has advantages and of course several disadvantages which the Honorable Minister has been discussing with relevant authorities, which perhaps an opportunity that the Honorable Minister is given to also share the view over this. We are operating now in the era of joint operations. You know, joint operations from the armed forces, from the Defense Academy, joint operations at the level of junior course, joint operations at the level of senior course, joint operations at the level of strategic courses, and of course, joint operations at the field level. Therefore, it only makes sense that the country operates one armed forces, especially at the operational level. And that should also be reflected, or rather reflected at the budgetary level, which of course we all know will reduce wastages and also enhance the capabilities of the armed forces and also make better use of our resources, especially now that we have dwindling resources in the country.
The committee goes into an executive session to address security details arising from the budget.
Gunmen suspected to be from neighboring state have invaded Akbanyam community in the Galamila Odolu local government area of Kogi State, killing 6 persons. The incident happened in the afternoon of Sunday in the Akbanya community located at the boundary of Kogi and Enugu states. Hoodlums numbering more than 30 came in buses and started shooting sporadically in the town, making residents to scamper for safety. It was gathered that no sooner than the hoodlums entered the community than the security agents, including the vigilantes, advanced and confronted them in a gun duel. Terrorists have abducted 10 people in 2 communities of Dogondaji and Kazauda villages in Wanke district of Gusau local government area in Zamfara state and demanded 20 million naira ransom. An indigene of the area, Ibrahim Musa, said 6 people were abducted in his village of Kazauda, while 4 were abducted in Dogondaji village by the terrorists, who demanded the sum of 2 million naira ransom for each of the abducted persons. Musa explained that his community in Kazauda village was able to mobilize the sum of only 1.1 million naira, while the Dogondaji village was yet to gather any amount. When contacted on the phone, the spokesperson for the State Police Command, SP Mohammed Shehu, said they would investigate the matter. The ADC candidate contesting for Zamfara State House of Assembly Shinkafi constituency in the 2023 general elections, Suleiman Abdul Rahman, was kidnapped along Shinkafi Sokoto Road while on his way to get his credentials at the Usman Dan Fodio University, Sokoto. The incident is coming barely 48 hours after armed bandits killed an imam and 2 others in Yankaba community in Kaura and Namoda local government. Shinkafi local government is bordering Kaura, Namoda, and are located in the northern part of the state, which has enjoyed relative peace in the last few months. Following the ceasefire by a notorious bandit, Bello Turji, who is known to be terrorizing the area, police in Zamfara is yet to speak on the incident as no ransom has been demanded for his release. And ahead of the 2023 general elections, Governor of Ebonyi State, David Umahi, has banned all forms of political rallies in all primary and secondary schools in the state from November 1, 2022. Governor Umahi announced the ban at the State Citizens Input for the 2023 budget estimate in Abakaliki. Umahi said all political parties, including that of the All Progressives Congress, must get approval from the Commissioner of Education before such rallies will hold in the state. According to him, the ban was a sequel to the defacing and destruction of facilities at the schools with phases and another deaths during such rallies. Umahi also banned the movement of motorbikes, popularly known as Okada, from 7 p.m. to 6 a.m. in Ebonyi State. And the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, has put to rest the speculation that he is working with the aggrieved governors of the People's Democratic Party, PDP. Obi has met several times with Governors Samuel Otom of Benue State, Nyesom Wike of Rivers State, Ifani Ugwuanyi of Enugu State, Seyi Makinde of Oyo State, who fell out with the party's presidential candidate, Atiku Abubakar. Speaking in Makurdi, the Benue State capital, during a visit to Murtala Mohammed Airport 2 terminal in Lagos to protest the unprovoked termination of the appointment of 34 aviation workers by the operators of the airport terminal, the B. Courtney Aviation Services Limited. The situation forced airlines like Ibom Air and Air Peace operating within the airport terminal to stop flight operations. Ibom Air, in a notice to passengers, said the action of the union will greatly impact its flights scheduled in and out of Lagos today. In a notice of strike by ATSAN, those affected in the disengagement include ATSAN branch chairman, secretary, treasurer, and women leader, who are set to demand the payment of terminal benefits to staff members who exited the service of the company lawfully in line with the assigned conditions of service. And Northern Consensus Movement has issued a 21-day ultimatum to the Southeast governors and other relevant authorities to address incessant attack on its members. The coalition of northern groups is accusing some persons in the southern region of attacks on northerners residing in the region. Rising from a press briefing in Kaduna, the group also threatened to cut supply of food items and other commodities to the region if the trend continues. The group appealed to the southern governors and other stakeholders to, as matter of urgency, address the issues in the interest of peace, national integration, and economic development. Condolences have continued to pour in for David and Choma over the loss of the 3-year-old Ifani who drowned in a swimming pool in his father's Banana Island residence. The presidential candidates of Labour Party, Peter Obi, PDP, Atiku Abubakar, and that of APC, Bola Tinubu, have all expressed sympathy for the singer and his family. They all prayed that God grants them healing and comfort during this period. Stakeholders in Ogun State have expressed concern over the rampant cases of intimidation, harassment, and assault of journalists while carrying out investigative and other routine reports must come to an end. Our correspondent Habibat Ajayi tells us more in this report.
2020 UNESCO report states over 1,200 journalists were killed between 2006 to 2020. While over 62 lost their lives, and in 9 out of 10 cases, the killers go unpunished. The convener, Simeon Fakeye, raises concern about the economic and psychological safety of journalists in Nigeria in order for them to do their jobs without fear or favor.
I mean, all over the world, there has been attacks, assaults, and in some cases, outright assassination of journalists. But the problem is the impunity, that is, failure on the part of the government or the judicial sector to prosecute or brought to book or to punish the perpetrators of those dastard acts. And the implication is that if the perpetrators of these violence acts goes unpunished, in no time, assaults, killing, attacks on journalists could become the norm.
At this event, stakeholders and practitioners in the industry advocate safety for journalists with a call for an absolute freedom of the press.
Writing down when the anchor was speaking, said some journalists were killed in 2nd November 2013. He said he was given 24 hours ultimatum to vacate Ekiti State by a governor. It said he witnessed journalists being beaten by security officers supervised by a governor. He also said, I have witnessed journalists being victimized in Ogun State by a governor. So you see there's a common denominator in all of these things. So that tells us, and that is in tandem with my note, there is, if you collect the lifetime, there's a common denominator. The major perpetrators of journalists' assault are the political actors.
A veteran journalist at the event challenged media organizations to improve the welfare of their workers.
UJ is not doing enough when it comes to the issue of remuneration for journalists, right? This is the period of how you can be bought easily. If the publishers of newspapers are not paying, how do you expect the poor journalist to survive? If somebody gives him brown envelope, you want him to reject that brown envelope? No. That is one of the big problems in the media. When they are not properly paid, there will be temptations.
And I'm a product of media. So why should we now not doing well with the journalist? It is appalling, it is uncalled for, it is condemnable. I want to say that journalism is the fourth estate of the realm. They are the one that can make the society to be better.
For fatalities, police said the injured were in various conditions, with several in critical and others non-life-threatening. Chicago Police Superintendent David Brown said in a press briefing. One more person was injured after being struck by a vehicle at the site of the shooting. Citing preliminary information, Brown said one vehicle was involved in the shooting, but there were possibly two shooters. The police did not identify the offenders or have any details of the motive. And now in entertainment, Nollywood is working to ensure that youths get busy and are taken out of the streets. These were words from the National Coordinator of Nollywood Golden Award, Percy Edoki. Edoki was speaking at the 10th edition of the award in Agbobi in Ika-South local government area of Delta State.
Nollywood has contributed immensely to the national economy by giving them Fashion has reduced the crime rate in the country as our employment is on daily basis. The action, therefore, has helped to reduce the crime rate in the country as the employment offered by Nollywood is on daily basis. As we believe that government alone cannot address the issue of unemployment. Nollywood has taken the responsibility of getting the youth out of the street by engaging them into a meaningful ventures that help them to be useful to themselves, their family, and the country at large.
And that's the news brief. For more stories, please follow us on our Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram accounts, and do subscribe to our YouTube channel at Plus TV Africa and Plus TV Africa Lifestyle. You can also view us from Limex on www.limex.tv and Glow TV apps anywhere in the world. I am Uchechukwu Onodo. Many thanks for watching.
Increase the reach of your events or business services. To advertise on Plus TV Africa, please call 0906 000 5719 or 0909 040 8408 or send an email to marketing@plustvafrica.com. Plus TV Africa. Big stories live here.
Nigeria has produced and continues to produce great writers who have won great accolades and recognition for their work. When discussing African literature, names like Chinua Achebe, Wole Soyinka, and Buchi Emecheta. But beyond these writers, exist modern writers redefining the fate of literature in Nigeria, Africa, and globally. 1. Chimamanda Adichie. The recipient of the MacArthur Foundation Fellowship was born on the 15th of September 1977 in Enugu, Nigeria. As a teenager, Chimamanda left for the United States and gained a scholarship to study communication at the Drexel University in Philadelphia, then pursued a degree in communication and political science at Eastern Connecticut State University. Her works have been translated into over 30 languages and has appeared in various publications, including The New Yorker, the O. Henry Price Stories, and the Financial Times. Some of her books, like The Purple Hibiscus, Half of a Yellowstone, and Americana, have won various awards. Her 2012 talk, We Should All Be Feminists, started a worldwide conversation about feminism and was published as a book in 2014. Tomi Adeyemi. Tomi, the author of Children of Blood and Bone, was born on August 1st, 1993, in the United States to parents who emigrated from Nigeria. After graduating Harvard University with an honors degree in English literature, she received a fellowship to study West African mythology, religion, and culture in Salvador, Brazil. Her debut novel, Children of Blood and Bone has spent over 2 years on the New York Times bestseller list, and its film adaptation is currently in active development with Disney's Fox and Lucasfilms. She was named one of Time magazine's 100 most influential people. She is a Hugo and Nebula award-winning Nigerian-American writer and storyteller based in Los Angeles, California. In 2020, she was named one of Forbes 30 Under 30 in media, and her website has been named one of the best websites for writers by Writers Digest. Numerous Book of the Year list, and won the Penn Hemingway Award, the New York City Book Award for Fiction, and was shortlisted for the National Book Critics Circle Award and the New York Public Library Young Lions Award. Teju Cole has contributed to New York Times, The New Yorker, Granta, Brick, and many other magazines. Akwaekwe Emezi. Born 1987, Emezi is a National Book Foundation 535.
Good morning and welcome to the run-up. I am Uchechukwu Onodo.
And my name is Nyamgul Agaji. We're glad to know that you're there and watching us today, and we hope that today will be both informative, educative, entertaining, and everything that you want to have in a program.
And today we're looking at the statement made by Governor Godwin Obaseki of Edo State, wherein he said that Nigeria would break if the current ruling party, the APC, wins the presidential elections come 2023.
We also will be talking to someone who is doing a very marvelous job in the hinterlands, in the slums, trying to get children to read by gathering a lot of books and opening libraries for children to read in Ajegunle, and hoping that someone watching today will also make it a point to do something positively to further the cause of education in Nigeria.
And moving on from there, we're going to be having, like we usually do, a surprise guest towards the end of the show, and we hope you have a great time having these amazing conversations with us.
We do also hope that we are going to have Mr. Okeosanyantolu, who was this morning tackling the fire that erupted in Yaba, to get an update, but whether we get him or not, we're hoping that they have done a very wonderful job there this morning. But let's kickstart immediately with Honorable Kehinde Bamgbeton, the former Commissioner for Information in Lagos State. Good morning and welcome to the program, Honorable.
Yeah, good morning.
Okay. APC, PDP, Labour Party, and so many other parties. But there seem to be a lot of problems within these major three parties. I'm talking about the APC and the PDP. Let's start with you, the APC. You are a chieftain in APC. What are the chances, seeing that we have so many problems within the party and the cry of some Nigerians that some of the things that you did not sit down well with them? What are the chances of APC from your perspective in the 2023 election?
I think thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to be part of this event. The most important thing that has happened is the launch of the manifesto of the APC. It responds to the yearnings of the average Nigerian. It has done a self-critique of what we have done in the last 7.5 years, and it has proposed new measures, new perspectives, new targets to ensure that the party continues to respond to the yearnings of the Nigerian people. So I think that is a major landmark in this campaign, the fact that we have been able to do our own self-criticism. We've seen where we seem not to have done very well, and we have seen where we have done extremely well. And we want to improve on this, and we are offering Nigerians a better and improved version and a more popular democratic option going forward. That is basically it. And that tells us that in terms of the mass of the people following us, we have already done our registration, and we know that we have large number of people across the length and breadth of this country ready to vote for our party. We, however, do not think that we should rest on our horse. We are every day trying to develop early warning systems, rejig our structures, engage, and as much as possible, convince Nigerians that we have an improved model, an improved mechanism, and a better delivery package than what they have witnessed before. And that basically is where we are now. So based on those factors, I have no doubt in my mind that we are going to win our elections come 2023.
Colleague is itching to also pitch in something, but let me just add this or have you clarify this. Before this manifesto was, you identify some of these ones that will be jettisoned for the greater good of Nigeria?
Well, you see, when you say jettisoned, I use the word improve on them. For example, you will have seen, for example, what we talk about security. And we think that there has to be more work in terms of security. For example, in terms of mobilizing Nigerians behind our security forces, there is a lot of inadequate communication about what our security forces are doing, about about the challenges they are facing on the field. And the point is, can we improve the weaponry, for example? Can we improve the intelligence gathering, for example? Can we also collaborate with other nations that are having the same problem and increase our capacity for combat readiness? These are areas that we can improve upon. And that's why we say that areas that people are complaining about. The first is that we did the research across the country, getting what people think about some of our policies, and we have seen some of those things, and we are working on those areas that we think people are having issues. Take, for example, we are talking about agriculture. This government has done a lot about local rice, but we could do much more than that. Right now, we know that 35% of the land available in Nigeria is under cultivation. Now, we intend to move it to 75%. And to achieve that purpose, we are looking at the river basins to see how we can use river basins to irrigate more land and therefore bring them under cultivation. We are looking at generating commodity boards to ensure that the farmers have better deal for whatever they are producing. We are looking at establishing more farmers cooperatives and providing them credit, and also providing more mechanized machines and the implements that they can use on the farms. So what has gone, we have to improve on it. In terms of security of the farmers, the Buhari government, for example, introduced what we call the Rangers program under the NSCDC, where Rangers move to the farms and try and stand by the farmers and secure them. Now, we want to expand that, by developing also a civilian version of it. So that the farmers can feel at home, can feel secure when they're going to the farms. These are areas of improvement. And of course, we have looked at the exchange rate. We have understood that this exchange rate that we're talking about, is partly due to the monetarist perspective, the dominance of monetarist tools in managing the economy. We are saying that we want to shift the focus from monetary to fiscal options. In other words, we are trying to say that as much as possible, exchange rates will depend on the productive capacity of the economy. And therefore, our challenge is to see how fast can we encourage more production. If there's more production, how can we encourage more exports so that the naira can be strengthened? We are looking at debt obligation. Debt issue is also one of the issues we are having. We are saying, how do we now generate the kind of revenue to be able to pay back our debt as fast as possible? And that's why you are going to have a lot of taxes being lowered, but being spread so that more people can pay. Some of those things. So we are not just coming with an old thing. We are not just repeating what has been done, but We are looking at those areas where people are complaining, where the show is pinching their Nigeria and trying to see how best can we, within a short period, respond to their yearnings. So that's really is the way forward for us.
Okay. All right. Let me ask you this question. The APC primary elections in Rivers State has just been nullified. Can you give us an insight on why you think this happened and how do you react to this situation?
There is never a perfect election. When you have an election, things go wrong. There will be one or two imperfections, and therefore, until a litigant goes to court to raise issues about the process of an election, you may not know exactly where things went wrong. So I'm just saying basically that whatever may be the outcome of the litigation, I'm quite sure this is also not the end of it, because there will be appeals, and until it gets to the final supreme authority, we may not exactly know the state of the matter. So I would want to caution myself that this is rather too early to begin to comment, because there are stages in this that this matter will go, and until the final judgment is taken, you cannot really be able to know whether you are saying the right or not. And not being a lawyer, I have to also be very careful, even though I'm a political consultant. And
the delegate list were not put on the delegate list, that some other people were put. So it was wrought with irregularities, and the people that were thrown up as the candidates were not supposed to, because they were not elected by the bona fide delegates. How do you respond to the perception people have that APC is arrogant in the way they do their things, in their selection, in their utterances and all that?
Well, that's rather a wrong impression, and it's rather unfortunate that some people can have that opinion. It is basically important that a governing party that has control of the presidency and more of the governors cannot afford to be arrogant to the people. It's holding whatever it's holding as power in trust for the people. And that basically means that if you start with our president, you can see what we preach and what we do is humility, and recognizing that ultimately power belongs to the people. So there's no reason any sensible, serious politician or representative of the people can afford to be arrogant, because sooner than later you will have to call back to these people and seek their mandate. Now, having said that, the process of election of delegates is quite very, very clear, and it basically starts with the fact that every ward has a certain number of people that you should elect as delegates, 5 per ward. That is the prescription of the party, and for you to qualify to do it, you must have spent some time within the party. You must have taken the forms, paid for the forms. Now, in this process, we'll talk of management of a particular process. Along the way, in the process, there must have been one hiccup or the other that has led to this. But I have also said this is a complaint that the lower court has had two parties, and they have taken a decision. But the party that feels it has not gotten the enough justice, it also has the legitimate right to go to the next level and plead its cause. And that's why we say that it may be too early, too easy to be judgmental about this matter. What I know is that if really people who are not supposed to be delegates became delegates, then you have to ask yourself, how did that happen? How did that happen? But it's not a matter of arrogance. In politics too, there is a lot of competition. Groups and their tendencies who are always competing for advantage within the process, and in that process, influence will be part of it. So I don't want to prejudge this matter. All I want to say is that a party is an organization of human beings. Human beings compete for power, and in that process, people can take advantage, and certain processes can actually be abused. But until we get the final position of this matter, I would not want us to rush to the press.
Let me ask you this question.
Yes.
Very recently, Governor Obaseki of Edo State has come out to say that in a statement, he said that the country, Nigeria, would break if the APC wins the forthcoming presidential elections. I'm not asking you to react directly to that, but then why would someone make a statement like that? Do you think that your party probably somehow has given off the notion or the body language that your party is not in for the unity of the country? What do you say about that?
Is that Godwin Obaseki is one of is probably one of our very, very, very worst governors. He has not done very well. You know, you are aware that he just recently went to a water facility and wanted a premier he had been for over 6-7 years. He just visited the water corporation and wanted to now sack everybody, complaining about the way the place has been run down. That shows basically that he's not on top of his job. Now, if a person who within his own state is not on top of his job, I think he will be taking much more than he can chew if he attempts to go into the national platform and begin to ventilate what basically is a very wrong-headed idea. The fact of the matter is that knowing the pedigree of the president who served in Nigeria, who was in the Civil War, who fought to make Nigeria one, you will expect that one major thing that you cannot take from President Buhari is that he's committed to the Nigerian Federation and he is ready to defend it to the last pint of his blood. Now, if there are issues of a crisis, insecurity in the country, which the government is doing everything possible to stop, to combat, I would expect a very responsible governor who attends the Council of State meeting and who has intelligence with him to be much more responsible and patriotic in the statements. These are not the kind of time for you to make very divisive comments. Where you can play politics, you can campaign, but campaign on what you promise Nigerians to do. Your party, the PDP, which you used to be in our party, and then Iran, only Nigeria will vote. This is an election, and people are going to vote. He should allow Nigerians to vote. He himself, he will face this very soon. So Nigerians are the ones who have the votes to determine the fate of everybody. And making irresponsible statements, about the future of Nigeria is rather on becoming of a governor. And I think basically it's something that you should have. It should feel. It should be honorable enough to withdraw that statement because it is clearly very, very irresponsible.
Revisit the achievements of this present administration and some of which you are going to build upon if you become the party at the center again in 2023. The present administration came on the heels of security, corruption, fighting of these ones. That will bring the economy to a level that $1 will be 1 naira. And right now, $1 naira or $1 is almost like 1,000 naira. Yes. So the way to solving a problem is by identifying what the root cause of that problem is. What have you identified, your party that is trying to give us a new lease of life according to how you're saying, what have you identified as the reason for the failure, or at least the perceived failure, because you may not agree with me that security, economy, and all the corruption and everything, it really didn't rear the head that we hoped, or it didn't really get the kind of fight that we hoped this administration was going to give it. So what are the problems that led to the perceived failure of the present administration in fighting these three areas that you intend to address that makes you have the confidence that the incoming administration, if you win, will be better than this one?
Now, let us understand very clearly that a nation has a history. And the economy also has a history. And let us understand that at the time the APC government came into being, there has been another party, the People's Democratic Party, which has been governed for 16 years. Let us also understand that it was a consensus. In fact, the basis on which that government lost power was a general agreement that it has wasted resources and set the nation back many, many decades. Now, the yeoman's job of transforming deficits to plus within a shorter period is a major challenging issue, and we have to recognize that for many months, many of the structures put in place by the PDP have to be undermined, have to be combated, have to be transformed. And one of the single purpose initiatives in that respect was the TSA. The TSA was meant to ensure that a lot of agencies and ministries and departments who are holding on to government resources, were forced to remit them back when they were not used, so that there could be a central accounting system for most of government operations. And by the TSA alone, millions of naira were saved because of many ministries having over 20, 30 accounts in various banks, bank charges and all sorts. And of course, it also meant that the corruption environment was shrunk, was reduced to the barest minimum. People didn't have the kind of leeway that they had under the PDP to go out there and concoct and engage in various dubious transactions, which took away a lot of government money. So the TSA remains a major factor, and we have to look at it very well as a major achievement of the government. And another area where you have to look at, for example, is that the government turned its attention to agriculture. The government said, let us produce what we eat. And the government took that seriously to the extent of having to shut down the borders of the country to limit the importation of rice so that the local growers of rice, could work. And we saw the evidence at the end of the day, the return of the rice pyramids. In Kano, in Katsina, in Kebbi, in particular, we were able to achieve increased production of local rice, and not just local rice alone. Also went to cassava, also went to other products. Now that means that we have been able to at least, work our talk of saying that Nigerians should produce what they eat. And interestingly, one of the people working against this is one of the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, who is an importer of baked beans. And also that means that what is importing is killing the beans farmers who are not able to get the kind of the right prices for their products because of this massive reckless importation of food items into the country. We continuously suppress the living standards of our people and our farmers.
We need to just...
So agriculture is one area, therefore, where we can proudly say that we have done very, very well. And what we are going to do is to make sure that as we fight insecurity, and we intend to ensure that the Bank of Agriculture takes back its place as a major funder and credit agency for promoting and producing better foods for the country. And not just that, we have also said that we intend to increase cultivation of land under cultivation from 35% as it is today to 75%. And our strategy for doing that is to start with the river basins, to use irrigation to reclaim more lands to come under cultivation and target crops that have very strong yields so that Nigerians will have no reason to continue to import food items into this country. We have discussed that. We have said that the farmers need a better deal. And in better deal, we say that we are going to bring back the commodity boards of old.
We're trying to have a conversation. And if you're not going to listen to us, so that we can have a conversation.
This is.
Well, you asked me, you just did a manifesto, and it's a very, very 80-page document.
For you to also let us
have other things.
I get to tell Nigerians what you have in stock for them. Thank you.
Okay, we have a few things. When you say some things, we would like to just, lest we forget, ask some questions that are pertinent to what you have said. But because for lack of time, let's just see this. The common man on the street doesn't really know what TSA has done to Nigeria. All he knows is that the debt profile of Nigeria is getting to $60 trillion. All he knows is that the dollar is higher. All he knows is that a bag of rice that was 16,000 is now up to nearly 40,000. And when you talk about you improving agriculture, you improving the economy, you bring in some innovations that have helped to save the naira, everybody will just be wondering what that is. But maybe since we are still studying the manifesto together, that would be a matter for another day. we have just discovered that a lot of issues have been raised, and we might need to call you back another day to come and say some things. So for now, we'd like to just thank you for being a part of our show today.
Thank you very much. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Okay, I really wished that he would have had a conversation.
Yes.
He would have, so that we can ask other questions and then make it clearer to Nigerians, answer the questions that are burning on the on a regular Nigerian's mind. Because when you begin to use terms like the TSA and they don't understand it. You understand? I probably would know what a TSA means because I had to do research over and over on certain issues because of the programs and the kind of work that I do. How about the person that is selling foodstuff in Yaba Market? Does the person understand what TSA is?
Now, even if I know the meaning of it, and even as a learned person, if it doesn't translate to making my life better.
And food on my table.
Food on my table, will I even really care? All those are terms. You tell me big terms and it doesn't translate into a better livelihood for me. How would I even see that you're doing something for me? I will say, take us back to Egypt where we will eat our cucumbers.
I hope he's able to answer the questions in a better, a more relatable manner the next time we'll have him. But it was amazing talking to him otherwise. It is still the run-up and we're going on a quick break. When we return, the run-up will continue and we're going to be having even more interesting conversations. Do not go anywhere. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Okay, we're glad to know you're still there and watching us. It's a run up, and we're joined by our second guest. Her name is Grace, and she's graciously doing something really lofty in the slums, in areas where the children are less privileged, in areas where children don't have access to books and they don't have people to encourage them to read. She has been doing a lot, gathering books, opening libraries, and encouraging children to read. It's our pleasure this morning to welcome you, Grace, to our program, The Run-Up. Welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, I was just trying to ramble up, just talking randomly and trying to describe the kind of work that you do. But give us an insight to what you do and what motivated you to do what you do.
Okay, so I work as the director of Transforming Lives and Communities Initiative, which is an NGO focused on bridging education inequality gap, because I believe every child deserves equal. Okay, so based on research, when we started out, we were trying out different stuff to see how an underserved community can be transformed. So we started out 2014, 2015, but we took flight in 2018 when we realized that, okay, we need to nip it on education and good governance. So these are the strategies that we use to drive the change that we are hoping for. So we've been doing it for almost, technically from 2018 to date, that's about 4 years.
How would you describe your level of success so far?
Yeah, I think it's very encouraging. Very encouraging. If it wasn't encouraging, I'm not sure we would have been continuing. One of the key things that we use as our performance indicator is civic engagement. We want to see how more people can become patriotic, love their community, see what they can do for their community. So The increase in our volunteer strength as an organization is very amazing. Seeing young people, seeing secondary school students coming around to the library saying, I want to volunteer, I want to give back, I want to do my bit. I mean, that is so beautiful. That's like a big success for us. And then we also have what we call behavioral improvement evaluation, which is one of the strategies, one of the performance indicators that we use to assess how well we have done. We've seen children at the library, shape up in their behavior, be more kind, be more compassionate, be more collaborative. That's another milestone for us. And then we also have the performance improvement evaluation. Of course, when you have a library, you want to ensure that these libraries are directly impacting on the academic performance of these children. And it's been great. We've seen kids who move from maybe like 8th position to 1st, 2nd, 3rd, by virtue of the fact that they visit our library.
Okay, what would you say has been the challenge, the major challenges that you've faced? I mean, what you run is like an NGO, and you probably fund these things by yourself. What are the challenges you would say you've faced over the years, and what's the biggest of them all?
Okay, so the first was skill set. The people, finding people who are passionate about what you want to do. It's not easy to run a big vision by yourself. So you need quite a lot of people. So at that, initially, people didn't even understand what volunteering was. They said, come and volunteer, come and work with us, community service. They're like, what's in it for me? What's in it for me? So when we continued anyway, and then we began to make it interesting, we began to make our volunteering opportunities interesting for people to come on board. And we have seen that aspect, that challenge taken care of. Also, we had funding issue initially because I was doing more with my funds. Of course, I still was consistent because I strongly believe in what I'm doing. Even the team also believes in what we're doing. So we were consistent, and little by little, we're getting more buy-ins from individuals, getting more buy-ins from private organizations, friends, even from out of the country who follow our works online. So these are challenges. The major for us right now is funding to do more, but I think we've overcome, and we're still overcoming the volunteering, the people challenge, which it's something that we have seen progress on.
But you're doing something on the one hand, and the government is also trying to do something on the other hand. What are you doing? How is your collaboration? How would you describe your collaboration with the government and with the private enterprises? And then from which area do you think you can have more of the funding that you're talking about here?
Okay, so we never leave out attending stakeholders forum in the local government, because everything we do is premised on the fact that if every local government is actively functioning, Nigeria's development is going to be a lot faster. So people need to get involved at community level, your local government level. So we never leave out attending any of the maybe stakeholders forum, budget preparation forums in the local government. That's where we talk to them about what we are doing, why they need to make investment plans, why they need to make investment projects, or maybe for the girls in the community, for the teachers, for schools. So, and we've seen them collaborate. Initially, it was a struggle. Maybe they didn't believe in what we were doing, but right now we're getting some support from them. Like I told them the last time that it could be more. It could be more, So, and then for private organizations, yeah, we work with them. We talk to some of them. Of course, some people, I think they see CSR as a form of brand awareness. So if you're not in the high-profile communities, if you're not doing stuff that would gain national attention, they might not want to come on board, which is very, very sad. But because I feel CSR is not supposed to be like a brand awareness platform for you as an organization. My apologies to organizations that own the right to do whatever they want to do with their money, but that part is a little bit of a struggle for us. Although we're getting better over to CSR, it should be about brand awareness for them. So they should look in the direction of those communities, those rural communities, those marginalized communities that are not even seen, NGOs that are not even heard of, and they're doing something great. I think it's very important for them to look in that direction if we really want the development of our nation.
All right, let me ask you this, because we're rounding off already. What would you say is the bigger picture for you? I mean, you're doing something very graceful. Out of your own volition, you came out to organize these people, and you all together are doing something amazing for these children in these areas. What is the bigger picture that you see when you think about it, and what should we be expecting in the future?
Okay, so for our children, we're on a mission to ensure that they have equal access to quality education, quality learning opportunities, so that they do not fall in the path of crime, poverty, and teenage pregnancy, which is very common amongst low-income communities like our community. So for us, we want to establish a learning center, which is what we call the Community Library and Discovery Center, where these children can have access to what they ordinarily cannot afford in their low-cost schools. So that we bridge that inequality gap. We close that gap between what the children of the poor learn, what and how the children of the poor learn, from what and how the children of the rich learn. So we're going to close that gap. Now, we cannot go to every individual school to establish the quality learning center that we are looking for. It would take forever for us to achieve that. But then if we have community centers like this that we have in mind, this big picture, in every local government, especially local governments of low-income communities, then I think we will be giving every child equal opportunity. We will be improving the quality of education, which will in turn improve the quality of people our communities and nation have. So we're looking at having that big center where, whether it is science, technology, art, math, different learning experiences that would harness the potential of every child in Nigeria.
Okay, Grace would like to thank you so much, and we're hoping that this thing you're doing in Ajegunle, because Lagos is not just Ajegunle, will be replicated in all the local governments of Lagos State and beyond Lagos State. Since your vision is for all of Nigeria, we pray that you have the wherewithal to do what you have planned to do. Thank you so much for coming on the program.
Okay, you're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Okay, that was Grace Nkwocha, who is doing something really amazing.
Yeah,
sometimes we sit back and complain that education in Nigeria is going down when we as individuals can actually do something.
Everybody might not have the opportunity or everything it takes to have a big organization like Grace does, but when you see a person like Grace, you could volunteer and help her out. It could be money that you have for buying the books, it could be books that you have that you're not using, you could donate them. Everybody has a role to play.
Like they say in St. Patrick's Mission, some go to the mission by going, or some give to the mission by going, and some go to the mission by giving. So you can either volunteer to become the priest, or you pay for a priest to be educated. So that's what everybody can do. You either give your time or your resources and all that. Anyway, we'll take a short break now and return with the news. And when we are done with the news, we'll take our final guest that we are hoping you're just guessing, and we'll get to meet at that time. Stay with us.
Stay with us. All right, welcome back. It is still the run-up, and we're having a very talented young man with us this morning. He's a musical artist. He also creates content, does many things. These talented people, you don't know where to catch them from. And with us this morning is Color Boy. Hi, Color Boy. Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, your name is Cola Boy, and when I heard about you the first time, I was like, does he chew cola a lot or what?
Not. And then Cola Nut represents something great in where I come from, the East. There is literally no meeting without a Cola Nut. So there's a saying, he who brings cola brings life. So after I recorded that song, I found out that people started calling me Cola Boy, and I wasn't bearing the name Cola Boy then. I was bearing the name Onyx, but somehow, some way, people started calling me Cola Boy, and then at the point I just had to switch. So, and I got a real meaning from the word cola, from the cola nuts meaning. It actually made so much sense to go with the name Cola Boy. Yeah.
All right, let's talk about the recent tour that you went for at the East. You had just come back from Enugu, and of course, you have a very recent body of work. Your EP had just dropped, and unfortunately, I couldn't be there for the listening party, but just tell us about it, the listening party and the EP.
Okay, the listening party was held that should be last 2 weeks in Enugu State. The title of the EP is Cola from the East. 5 songs featuring Flavor, Anidons, MCR, and Ojadilibu. The idea of the EP was actually to create something that kind of bridges the gap between the old ancestral sound and the modern sound. You know, just like the song Omalicha, the one that was dropped before the EP, I found out that even the song was able to cut across both the old and the new, so everybody could relate to the song. It's not just like it was made for just the older generation, but it was made just for the new generation. So what my brand actually is trying to do is to kind of bring that ancestral sound, and then more like a fusion of the ancestral sound and the new modern sound. Yeah.
Okay, Kola, we like a situation in Plus TV where we bring people that are not that, the Nigerian parlance says blown, you know, you never blow like that. But we like to discover talents and sell the talents to the world. But the world that we want you to be a part of will have to make very informed choices in the political space. And we're wondering, with the influence that you're beginning to gather, you know, when you're collaborating with Flavor and the rest of the big names, it means that you're somewhere there. We're wondering how much of this influence you're also using to educate people of your ilk, people of your type, people of your kind of profession and all that, to get involved in electioneering, in politics, and making sure especially that the defining year of 2023 is what we want it to be, to take Nigeria to El Dorado. So how much involved are you in the politics of Nigeria?
I would say from my own end, I've been doing everything I could, you know, to sensitize people about how important it is to get involved in, you know, exercising their rights as citizens of Nigeria, the ones that are of age. We've been involved in activities, a whole lot of them, trying to sensitize people to get their PVCs and everything, to get ready for voting, because we can't just keep complaining every time. We, the youths, we have to be fully involved. And I've done a couple of things too. You know, when the registration was going on, I had to go down to a lot of locations, you know, because I feel when you are an influential person, people tend to like it's kind of every move or every activity you get involved in, kind of influences a lot of people to look up to you. So I had to go. Even though I had registered before, I still had to make some moves and go to just let people know that, okay, this is the right thing for us to do. And I will keep doing such too. Yeah, I will keep doing such, yeah.
Yeah, but, you know, 2023 is coming. I'm just wondering, if you were to select a president, what kind of qualities would you want in a president as a person now?
First of all, I think someone, we first of all, we need a younger person, right? We need a younger person, and then we need someone that has a different ideology and a perspective of the whole thing about governance. Because what we've had so far, we've had people that had this tribal mentality, and we've had people that I think we've had selfless leaders. To be sincere, we need someone that understands the fact that what we need now is just to rebuild a country that is almost gone, and not someone that is self-centered. Not
All right. Thank you so much, Color Boy. Over time, you've proven that you're a very traditional person, and we see how you infuse that in your music. It's a very beautiful thing, actually, for a young man in your age bracket to understand the place of culture. And it's also beautiful to know that you're very interested in the political end of things also. You're not just in the entertainment sector. You're using your influence to be a part of politics and governance. That is a very beautiful thing. Thank you so much, Colaboy, for coming on the run-up this morning. And we have your video, Omalicha, that will be coming up very soon. We hope that you continue the great work that you're doing.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you're watching us right now, and before the news, you saw the lofty things that a young lady was doing. Grace Nkwocha there was doing something with the young ones in Ajegunle, and hopes to replicate all this in all the local governments of Lagos State and possibly the entire Nigeria. You too can do something no matter how young you are. Kola is doing it, Grace is doing it. What are you doing? Well, as we wrap up, I hope that tomorrow that you're going to be a part of the program again. My name is Nyamgul Agaji.
And as we round up with Omalicha video, my name is Uchechukwu Onodu. Do have yourself a wonderful day ahead.
It's Bami on the beat.
Omalicha, boys want to gafe hanekiri. Your beauty me well on the throat to roge keriri and them and eburu Jericho mu abudimbudi mu abura karama kachuko mu abudagiri mu say the way I sing the fight away you got container them off load the fight away I say madam I say the way I sing the fight away the free boss I already got ready so the fight away mu fight away Omalicha mama de that's a thought of you, they bust my head, the blast I don't know. Up now we get today, that would be a waste of food. They steady dripping it and they making one check and go down. Kuku banya madam, my soul aside for my spec. Right in the beat, touch on the beat, man will do my check. And through to God, I cross my heart, my was in hero. And when they pay to make I push it up, but my for city go. Say, Mama Licha, Mama that's Mama Licha, Mama Genevieve Nadibasa, Chimamanda DJ, Momo Nyoko Wen, Uche Queen Femori, Regina Daniel, some Mamoro number, Ijechi Unyenedo Compo, Missy Juliet Compo, Omo Meresuada Manakano, come watch your Yaku Celebrity Barista, this is a very Yaku Bibana. The angels is a boy who chief priest. Because you told you what I am. Much respect to OG. I bought you anymore. I didn't feel it. Oh, yeah. Pull up, boy. Retro mix.
Yes.